Imperial Consort Hua went quiet for a moment, then said there was another way. She walked to her vanity, pulled open the bottom drawer, and took out an old wooden box carved with a snow heart flower. Inside was a folded silk cloth covered in neat handwriting. She said her father gave it to her. It described the real purpose of the blood-sealing jade pendant. Not a sealing tool, but a blood-swapping tool. You take one person's blood, use the jade as a guide, and push it into someone else's body. Old blood out, new blood in. If it works, your bloodline changes completely. But the survival rate was 1 in 100. And during the process, it would feel like 10,000 blades scraping your bones and fire burning your heart. I tapped the table twice. 1%. But if it worked, I'd truly become a holy light star bloodline. Not a disguise, the real thing. No more worrying about blood testing stones or trial tower checks. I said the pain didn't scare me, just the odds. But Imperial Consort Hua already knew about my luck-type passive skill. She'd been gathering information on me ever since she learned her real son was dead. She'd analyzed all my abilities and figured I had a passive that tilts probability in my favor. She said the blood swap would just be a close call for me, nothing more. I looked at her again. This woman had played invisible in the palace for over 20 years while secretly building an intelligence network. I stood up and said, "Let's start now." She flipped the silk cloth over. On the back was a diagram of the body's meridians showing the blood swap route. In through the left wrist, through the heart, out through the right wrist, passing through all 72 main meridians. The whole thing would take 3 full double hours, and I couldn't pass out during any of it. If I blacked out, the old blood wouldn't drain properly, and the new blood couldn't enter. Best case, I'd become crippled. Worst case, dead. I memorized the meridian map. We were alone in her chambers. The patrol guard's footsteps faded outside. I pulled Sheng Yuan's body from my soul storage. He lay on the floor beside the bed, 22 years old, silver-white hair spread out, eyes closed, looking like he was sleeping. The fist-sized hole in his chest was still there, the blood dried into dark red clumps. The moment Imperial Consort Hua saw his face, she froze completely. Her hand reached out, fingers shaking, wanting to touch him but not daring to. Her lips moved with no sound. Tears rolled down her face one after another and hit the floor. Yuaner, 2 words squeezed from her throat. Dry, hoarse, not quite human, like a mother beast calling for its cub. She knelt beside him and touched his face. When her fingertips met his skin, her whole body trembled. His face was ice-cold and stiff, nothing like the laughing, lively child she remembered. She asked if he was in pain when he died. I told her no, it was one punch. He was gone before he could react. She closed her eyes, tears pushing through her lashes, and whispered, "That's good." She brushed the hair from his forehead, revealing a small scar from when he fell on stone steps as a child and needed 3 stitches. She traced it over and over with her fingertip, like she was trying to carve it into her own hand. Tom was short. I called her name. She took a deep breath, wiped her face with her sleeve, and stood up. Tears still swam in her eyes, but her voice was steady. "Let's begin." She laid Sheng Yuan's body flat and drew a dagger. She pressed the blade to his left wrist, hesitated for 3 full breaths, then closed her eyes and cut deep. Blood surged out. She pressed the jade pendant to the wound, and it instantly absorbed all the blood, then kept drawing more from inside his body. After a minute, the pendant was full. Sheng Yuan's exposed skin had turned a sickly white. I took off my shirt and sat cross-legged on the floor. Moonlight slipped through the window crack and drew a silver line across my body. Imperial Consort Hua knelt to my left, dagger in hand. The blade gleamed cold in the moonlight. Her hand was steady now, much steadier than before. She reminded me that once the swap started, it couldn't stop. If it stopped, everything would be ruined. Old blood stuck inside, new blood locked out, meridians tangled into chaos. I nodded. She glanced at the window and said patrol guards passed every half hour. No matter how much it hurt, I couldn't make a sound. Understood. She cleaned the blade and asked if I was ready. I took a deep breath and said, "Let's go." She pressed the dagger to my right wrist. Not a cut, a straight stab into the vein. My brow tightened. It hurt. I bit down and stayed silent. Dark red blood poured from the wound, running down my wrist and pooling on the floor. She pulled the blade out, then pressed the blood-sealing jade pendant against my left wrist. The instant it touched my skin, Its red glow flared bright, lighting both our faces in a pulsing glow like a heartbeat. She pressed the pendant tight, closed her eyes, and began chanting. The words were so faint they sounded like wind slipping through a crack. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but I could feel it, something drilling into my body through my left wrist. It started like molten lava pouring in through my left wrist. Hot, burning, crawling up through my veins, wrist, forearm, elbow, shoulder. I looked down and saw a red line spreading under my skin, the flesh twitching everywhere it passed. Hold on, Imperial Consort Hua said, her voice shaking. This is just the beginning. The red line crawled into my chest. It felt like someone poured molten iron into my blood vessels. Every inch it moved, that section of vein would cramp and twist like it was being wrung out. Sweat rolled off my forehead and hit the floor. Then I heard footsteps outside. Patrol guards, at least 5 of them. They stopped right outside the window. The red line had reached my heart. It felt like someone was scraping a red-hot knife between my bones. I bit down on my sleeve and didn't make a sound. The guards chatted outside about food, about the blood verification ceremony, about which palace maid was pretty. I listened to all of it with my teeth clenched into my sleeve, sweat dripping off my chin and mixing with the blood pooling on the floor. My right wrist was still leaking blood, my old blood, my blue star blood. The puddle kept growing. Imperial Consort Hua knelt beside me, gripping the jade pendant, knuckles white. She watched the red line reach my heart, pause for a moment, then punch straight in. My whole body arched. The pain wasn't the kind where you think, please stop. It was the kind where you think, fuck this, I quit. My heart was wrapped in that red line, squeezed by a burning hand, and every single heartbeat was agony. I looked down and saw a ball of red light pulsing under the skin of my chest like a light bulb about to explode. Then I heard a hum from inside my body, like vibrating metal. Golden blood, Sheng Yuan's blood, began flowing from the jade pendant into me, following the path the red line had carved. 2 kinds of blood crashed together inside my heart. My old dark red blood and his golden blood churned and fought like 2 snakes tearing at each other. My fingernails dug into the wooden floor, cracking against the grain. The guards finally left. I spat out my sleeve, covered in teeth marks and spit, and gasped for air. First stage done, Imperial Consort Hua said. Her voice trembled, but her eyes lit up. She poured me some tea. My hand shook so badly I spilled half of it. I drank a mouthful and dumped the rest on my face. The cool water sharpened my mind a little. Then came the second stage. The blood had to spread from my heart through all 72 main meridians. The first meridian, heart to right shoulder. It felt like my shoulder was smashed with a hammer and pieced back together. My bones cracked twice. I didn't make a sound. Second meridian, heart to left shoulder. Same cracking, same crushing pain. Third, up through my neck into my skull. When the red line drilled into the back of my head, my vision went black, then came back. I could actually see my own brain, gray-white, covered in blood vessels, dark red blood retreating while golden blood pushed in. Fourth, fifth, sixth, down into my gut and legs. My stomach cramped and I tried to vomit, but nothing came up. Both legs seized at the same time and my knees slammed the stone floor hard enough to leave white marks. By the 10th, 20th, 30th meridian, I lost count. Each one felt like a red-hot iron rod being shoved through it and left there to slowly cool. My body was rejecting Sheng Yuan's blood on instinct. His blood thrashed inside me like a caged snake ramming the walls. My body pushed it out while it forced its way in, and everywhere those 2 forces pulled against each other felt like a dull blade sawing through flesh. Imperial Consort Hua whispered, "Don't fight it. Let it in. The more you resist, the worse it hurts." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to relax those cramping meridians, to let them open. The moment they did, the golden blood charged through like a wild horse. It shook my whole body, but once it passed, the pain stopped. One section at a time. One meridian at a time. 40th, 50th, 60th. I was soaked through. Sweat poured off me and mixed with the blood on the floor, drenching a huge patch of wood. Imperial Consort Hua kept wiping me down with her sleeves until you could wring water from them. 65, 66, 67. The dark red blood inside me was almost gone. I watched the blood flowing from my right wrist change color, from pure dark red to red streaked with gold, then gold streaked with red, then pure gold. 68, 69, 70. My body started shaking, not from pain, from blood loss. The puddle on the floor was big enough to show a reflection. Imperial Consort Hua's face was chalk white, but she didn't stop, pressing the jade pendant against my wrist, pushing more blood in. Last stretch, she said, her voice dry as sandpaper. Make it through, and you're done. 71. The red line drilled into the thinnest meridian in my left leg, a thread-thin line at the inner ankle. My foot jerked and my toes clawed into the floor, leaving 5 white scratches. It felt like a red-hot needle being pushed from my ankle all the way up to my hip bone. 72. The last one. The red line left my heart, traveled down my spine, through my tailbone, and my entire body went rigid. It wasn't pain anymore. It was something I couldn't describe, like something deep inside me was being unlocked. Then I heard it. Click. Like a lock opening. All the pain, all the numbness, all the cramping, gone in an instant. What replaced it was warmth. Comfortable, gentle warmth, like soaking in a hot spring or sitting in winter sunlight. I looked at my hands. Under the skin, the blood flowing through me was gold. Holy light star blood. I looked up at Imperial Consort Hua. She sat on the ground, drenched in sweat, hair plastered to her face. She stared at the wound on my wrist. The cut that had been leaking golden drops was healing before her eyes. New skin grew from the edges and zipped shut like a closing zipper. 5 breaths. The wound was gone. She touched my wrist, smooth, not even a scar. She started laughing, and then the laugh turned to crying, tears and sweat running together down her face. It worked, she said, her voice shaking. It really worked. I looked at my hands. I could feel the golden blood flowing, and there was power in it, different from before. My old blood had no special quality. Now something was burning inside it. Not heat, but light. The Holy Light Ancestors bloodline. I could sense everything on Holy Light Star that used bloodline as a key. I stood up. Under my feet was a pool of dark red blood, my old blood. I stood in it for 3 seconds, then looked up. That really hurt, I said. Imperial Consort Hua blinked. Then I grinned. But it was worth it. A 9th Prince identity plus a God-tier talent title. That little bit of pain was nothing. She shook her head at my grinning face and got on her knees to wipe the blood off the floor. From now on, she said quietly while she cleaned, you don't need the blood-sealing jade pendant anymore. You are my Yuaner. She looked up at me. In her eyes there were tears, a smile, and something I couldn't quite name. I reached out and pulled her up from the floor. I stood up from the floor, my feet still sticky with my own dark red blood. I told Imperial Consort Hua we needed to clean it up. If the patrol guards smelled blood, they'd come in to check. She grabbed a rag and got on her knees, scrubbing the floor with quick, practiced movements. She didn't look like a pampered consort. She looked like a servant who'd done hard work her whole life. Moonlight hit her face through the window crack. She was still pale, but there was something new in her eyes. Not hatred, but the glow of someone who'd finally found hope. I rolled my shoulders. My bones cracked twice. All 72 meridians had been forced open during the blood swap. The pain was gone, but my body still felt strange, hollow and full at the same time. I looked at my hands. Under the skin, golden blood flowed through my veins, slow and steady, like a river just starting to thaw. The blood on the floor was cleaned up. Only faint marks remained on the wood, like water stains. Imperial Consort Hua sat on the floor, back against the bed, breathing hard. Her hair was loose. Her silver hairpin had fallen, and her white sleeves were smeared with blood. She asked how I felt. I thought about it, and said nothing special, just something extra inside me that I couldn't quite describe. She nodded and said the blood swap was only the first step. My bloodline was now Yuaner's, but my body was still my own. It would take 2 or 3 days to fully merge. The better it merged, the more stable the bloodline would be, and the Trial Tower's blood cleansing wouldn't reject me. 2 or 3 days was just enough time. I put on my outer robe and tied my belt. I went to the window and peeked out. The moonlight was bright, flowers swayed in the night wind, and the patrol had moved on. I heard the night watchman's wooden clapper in the distance. 3rd watch. Imperial Consort Hua told me not to go back to my own chambers tonight. She looked me over and said I was covered in blood, white as paper. If a patrol guard saw me, by morning the whole palace would be buzzing about the 9th prince getting attacked. She was right. My inner armor was spotted with blood, my pants were half soaked, and my hair was plastered to my forehead in wet clumps. She called Uncle Zhong, who'd been standing outside the door like a stone statue. She told him to take me to the side hall to rest, and to fetch clean clothes from my quarters in the morning. Uncle Zhong nodded without asking a single question. The man had lived nearly 2,000 years. He knew when to talk and when not to. The side hall was small but clean. One bed, one table, one chair, a full oil lamp. After the door closed, I sat on the bed and looked at my right wrist. The knife wound was completely gone. Smooth skin, not even a scar. I pressed the spot. No pain, no feeling at all. I raised my left hand and looked at my palm. The lines were the same as before, but under the skin, the color of my veins had changed. They used to be dark red. Now they had a faint golden tint. I stared at that gold for a long time. Sheng Yuan's blood. A dead man's blood, now flowing through me. I remembered Imperial Consort Huan kneeling beside his body, touching his face, tears dropping one by one. She never cried out loud, but that silent crying was harder to watch than wailing. I closed my eyes and leaned against the headboard. Moonlight drew a thin silver line across the floor. The next morning, I got back to my quarters at first light. I changed into a clean dark gold robe and tied my hair up fresh. In the mirror, I looked mostly normal, just a little pale. Uncle Zhong came to the door and said the Star Lord had summoned me to the discussion hall. It was about the trial tower. All the princes and princesses had been called. When I walked in, the hall was already full. Sheng Tian stood at the front in his dark gold robe, hands clasped behind his back, wearing that perfectly composed, warm smile of his. Sheng Tianwu stood beside him, carrying his new battle axe, the scar on his face sharp in the morning light. Sheng Tianyun held his thin sword in the corner, quiet as always. Sheng Tianxin stood on the other side, her left arm fully healed, face still cold as ice. And Sheng Tianjiao stood right in the center, decked out in brand-new golden battle armor with a level 100 badge pinned to his chest, chin raised high, mouth curled up like a peacock spreading its tail. "Ninth brother's here," Sheng Tianjiao called out, his voice half a pitch louder than necessary. "Didn't sleep well? You look terrible." I glanced at him. "Eighth brother looks energetic, though," he snorted. "Of course. The holy invincible trial is in 3 days. I've been training day and night. I'm in the best shape of my life." "Good for you," I said flatly, walking to my spot. That half-hearted tone choked him. He wanted to snap back, but then he remembered getting punched across the arena last time, and he swallowed his anger. His mouth twitched, and he turned away. Sheng Tianwu leaned over and whispered to me, holding back a laugh. He said Sheng Tianjiao had gone to the equipment bureau yesterday to pick up that new armor specifically so the ancestor could see him wearing it in the trial tower. I looked at the gleaming golden armor. "It is pretty bright." "No kidding," Sheng Tianwu grinned. Standing on top of the tower, you could spot him from 3 streets away. Sheng Tianyun coughed softly from the side. Footsteps came from outside. The Holy Light Emperor walked in, golden robe, hair tied up, face full of authority. Behind him followed 12 elders, with Elder Sheng Xian at the front and Elder Sheng Tianji at the back. Everyone in the hall bowed. The emperor sat down at the head seat, swept his gaze across the princes and princesses, and said he'd called us here about the trial tower opening in 3 days. Everyone listened closely. He leaned back and tapped the armrest twice. "The trial tower opened once every 100 years, he said, and this time it was our generation's turn. The ancestor had left 9 levels of trials inside, each with its own reward. The higher you went, the more valuable the reward." Sheng Tianjiao's eyes lit up like light bulbs. "What about the 9th level?" he blurted out. The emperor looked at him. "The 9th level, no one knows. No one has ever passed it." Sheng Tianjiao's eyes got even brighter. The emperor ignored him. He leaned back, tapping the armrest slowly, and let his gaze pass over each of his sons one by one. "Sheng Tians, Sheng Tianwu, Sheng Tianyun, Sheng Tianfeng." Then his gaze stopped on me. The hall went quiet. Everyone could feel the Star Lord's eyes lingering on the 9th prince. Sheng Tianjiao's smile froze on his face. He followed his father's gaze and saw me, standing at the edge of the group, still a little pale, but standing straight. His back teeth clenched. Before the ancestor ascended, the emperor said, he left behind one sentence. Everyone's ears perked up. "The 9th level's reward can give a person one possibility. Sheng Tianwu scratched his head. What possibility? The emperor looked at him. The possibility of breaking through level 200. The hall went dead silent. Everyone wore the same stunned expression. I stood there, face blank, but inside my mind was churning. Level 200. Across the entire star region, every second-tier planet maxed out at 199. The Holy Light Emperor himself had been stuck at 199 for who knows how many years, unable to even reach 200, let alone break past it. Because the threshold to 200 wasn't something you could brute force with resources. It was the line between mortal and God. Cross it, and you ascend. Fail, and you're dust. And now, the ancestor had left something on the 9th floor of the trial tower that could give someone the chance to cross that line. My heart sped up half a beat, but I kept my face blank, just furrowing my brow slightly like I was thinking. The Holy Light Emperor watched everyone's reactions for 3 seconds, then continued. So, if anyone passes the 9th level of the trial, that person will be the next Star Lord heir. The hall erupted. Sheng Tianjiao's face cycled through white, red, purple, and green. He gripped his sword hilt until his knuckles went white. The Star Lord heir position was supposed to be his eldest brother's. After that, maybe, possibly his. But now his father was saying whoever cleared the 9th level got it. He knew his chances of passing were lower than getting hit by a meteor walking down the street. Millions of years and nobody had done it. But he couldn't accept it. He glanced at me, saw my none of my business expression, and got even angrier. Sheng Tian stood at the front, hands behind his back, warm smile still perfectly in place. But behind his back, his fingers slowly clenched tight. He was the crown prince. He was supposed to be the heir. And now his father had just told everyone. His title meant nothing special. But he didn't show it. He even smiled. Father is right, he said, voice even warmer than usual. The ancestor's opportunity belongs to whoever earns it. No matter who passes the 9th level, they are Holy Light Star's future hope. I accept that wholeheartedly. The emperor glanced at him, something flickering behind those golden slit pupils, and nodded. It's good that you think this way. Sheng Tian lowered his head, his smile deepening. Sheng Tianwu stood nearby, looking back and forth between his eldest brother and me. He scratched his head, feeling like something was off about what the eldest brother just said. It sounded sincere, but also not sincere. He gave up thinking about it. Reaching the 5th floor would be a miracle for him, so the air stuff had nothing to do with him anyway. Then the emperor turned and faced me directly. Every pair of eyes in the hall landed on me again. Sheng Yuan, I looked up. You have a god-tier talent, he said, his voice dropping low. In millions of years on Holy Light Star, apart from the ancestor himself, you are the first person to awaken a god-tier talent. He stepped forward and stood right in front of me, looking down. Those golden slit pupils held expectation, pressure, and something I couldn't quite read. No one has passed the 9th level in millions of years. If there is one person in this world who can, it's you. The hall went silent. Sheng Tianjiao's face turned even greener. Sheng Tian's hidden fists clenched tighter. Sheng Tianwu's mouth hung open, thinking his father was being way too blunt. I looked into the emperor's eyes and saw a lot. Real expectation, real hope, but also a thread of scrutiny. Like he was asking, are you worthy of this expectation? I lowered my eyes. Then I'll give it a try. A few quiet words. But the emperor heard the weight behind them. Not, I'll definitely do it. Not, I'll do my best. Not, I'll try hard. Just, give it a try. The kind of try, that means if I dare to try, I dare to succeed. He stared at me for 3 seconds. Then he laughed. Not his usual controlled, dignified laugh. A real one, from deep in his chest. Good, he reached out and clapped my shoulder. The force was heavy, like he was hammering his expectations into my bones. Prepare well these 2 days. Whatever resources you need, go to Uncle Zhong. The Imperial Treasury is open to you. Take whatever you want. Sheng Tianjiao's jaw nearly hit the floor. The Imperial Treasury. Open to me. That meant millions of years of Holy Light Star's accumulated treasures, free for the picking. Treasures he dreamed of touching, things he didn't even have the right to know the names of, and I could take whatever I wanted. His fingers squeezed the sword hilt until it cracked. He couldn't accept it, but he didn't dare speak up. He still remembered getting punched across the arena, the dull ache in his chest, the sweetness in his throat, the feeling of his back slamming into the wall like his bones were shattering. He couldn't beat me, so he just swallowed it. He lowered his head. Nobody saw his eyes. They were full of jealousy. The emperor pulled back his hand, scanned the room, and asked if everyone understood. All the princes answered yes at once. He told us to prepare and assemble at the trial tower the day after tomorrow, then left. The 12 elders filed out behind him. Elder Sheng Xian paused for a step as he passed me, glanced at me, then kept walking. Elder Sheng Tianji also looked at me as he passed. His old eyes showed no emotion, flat as dead water, but I caught a sliver of curiosity in them. I noted the fourth elder's gaze and kept my face blank. After the elders left, the princes and princesses headed out. Sheng Tianwu was the first to come over, throwing his arm around my shoulders like a bear hug. Ninth brother, father's expectations for you are insane. But seriously, if you actually clear the 9th level, man, he looked me up and down. You'd be the next level 199 on Holy Light Star. No, level 200. You wouldn't even need the reward to reach 199. I let my mouth twitch. Sixth brother, don't jinx me. What if I can't even pass the first level? Sheng Tianwu rolled his eyes. You can't pass the first level? If you fail the first level, I'll eat my battle axe. With soy sauce, Sheng Tianyun added quietly from the side. You said you'd eat your sword last time. Still haven't done it. Sheng Tianwu's face went red. That's different. I was concussed by Chun Tingguang that time. It doesn't count. We walked out chatting and laughing. Sheng Tianjiao trailed behind, alone. His golden armor gleamed painfully bright in the sunlight, but his face looked like it was covered in ash. He stared at my back, at sixth brother's arm around my shoulders, at third brother joking with me, at fourth sister glancing my way. Every little detail stabbed at his eyes like needles. He used to be the center of attention. Now he was just a spectator. All of it changed the moment I awakened a god-tier talent. He clenched his fists, turned, and walked off in the opposite direction. Sheng Tiance walked at the front, pace steady. His warm smile was still there, but he hadn't said a single word the whole way, which wasn't like him at all. At the fork in the path, he stopped. Brothers, everyone halted. He turned around and looked at me. That handsome, gentle face wore its usual pleasant smile. Ninth brother, father has placed great hope in you. We're all happy for you as your older brothers. He paused, adding just the right touch of emotion to his voice. I probably can't make it to the 9th level myself, but I hope you can. He reached out and patted my shoulder twice, lightly. Do your best. Don't let father down. I looked into his warm eyes. Thanks, big brother. He nodded, turned, and walked away. His dark gold robe fluttered once in the wind before disappearing around the corridor corner. Sheng Tianwu leaned in and whispered, Big brother's words just now. Didn't they sound kind of weird to you? I smiled but didn't answer. Let's go, Sheng Tianxin said, walking up from behind. She glanced at the direction big brother had disappeared, then at my calm face. She didn't say anything. What I didn't know was what happened after we all left the discussion hall. Sheng Tiance walked back to his quarters with that warm smile still on his face. The moment the door closed, the smile peeled off like old paint. Underneath was something cold and dark, like a volcano held down for 40 years. He repeated his father's words to himself. Whoever passes the 9th level becomes the heir. He'd been groomed as crown prince for nearly 40 years. He'd studied everything, strategy, governance, warfare, and the whole court praised him. Now his father had turned all of that into a joke with one sentence. He poured himself a cup of tea, raised it to the empty room like a toast, and said, Father, with one sentence, you've made my 40 years of waiting into nothing. He thought about killing me. But I was living in the East Palace with 3 layers of patrols and Uncle Zhong beside me. The Emperor had also forbidden me from leaving. There was no way to get close, and even if he managed it, the Emperor would trace it back to him. He'd lose more than just the crown. He'd lose his life. Then he thought of the lawless domain, a no-man's land with no rules and no law. If you paid enough, people there would do anything. He had a black communication stone he'd bought at an auction 3 years ago for 10 divine power pills. It connected to a secret organization in the lawless domain. He'd never used it. Now he was going to. But first, he went to see his mother. The Empress sat at her bronze mirror, combing her long black hair. She already knew what the Emperor had said at the discussion hall. Her reaction was a cold smile. 40 years as crown prince, she said, and now your position means nothing. She asked what he planned to do. Tiance told her he wouldn't let me enter the trial. He'd use the lawless domain to find a level 109 awakened to challenge me to a death duel, a challenge that couldn't be refused. Even with my strength, fighting someone 9 levels above me would mean a 45% damage reduction from level suppression. The Empress smiled, a satisfied smile. She told him to do it cleanly and not leave traces for his father to find. As he left, she added one last thing. Make it a guaranteed kill, and don't underestimate his 9th brother. Back in his quarters, Tiance activated the communication stone. A dark, blurry figure appeared in the air. No face, no features, just a shadow. I want someone killed, Tiance said. Sheng Yuan. Holy Light, Star's 9th Prince. Level 100. Dual SSS abilities. God tier talent. The shadow named the price. 10,000 divine power pills. Tiance's face went white. That was nearly 5 years of his monthly allowance, over a decade of savings. But the shadow explained, killing a God tier talent meant going against all of Holy Light Star. 10,000 was the floor price. He paid. 1 pill at a time, a small mountain of golden pills piled on his desk until his storage ring was empty. The shadow swept them away in one motion. Tiance told the shadow to send a level 109 challenger for a death duel. The shadow disappeared to arrange it. Less than 15 minutes later, the stone lit up again. He's not between level 100 and 109, the shadow said. A level 109 challenger can't issue him a death duel. Tiance froze. I had awakened my God tier talent 9 days ago, at level 100. If I was above 109 now, but I hadn't received the second layer of the Holy Light art yet, which meant I couldn't break past 110, then I had to be exactly level 110. 9 days. From 100 to 110. It took Tiance 3 full years to cover that same gap. Even with a God tier talent, refining 1,000 divine power pills in 9 days shouldn't be possible. Where did I even get 1,000 pills? He couldn't figure it out. He pushed the thought aside and told the shadow to send a level 119 challenger instead. The shadow said the price stayed the same. Killing a level 100 or a level 110 made no difference to them. Tiance let out a breath of relief. If they'd raised the price, he'd have had nothing left to pay with. The shadow vanished again. What I didn't know was that Tiance's plan was already in motion. The shadow returned to his communication stone with a name, Xueli. A survivor from Bloodflame Star, the planet Holy Light Star had wiped out 2 years ago. Xueli was the Bloodflame King's nephew. He'd escaped the massacre and spent 2 years hiding in the lawless domain, fighting in underground arenas, killing for bounties. 27 fights, all wins. 3 months ago, he'd killed someone at level 123 despite being only level 119. The shadow pointed out the beauty of the choice. A man with a blood grudge against Holy Light Star challenging Holy Light Star's 9th Prince. Nobody would suspect it was arranged. It would look perfectly natural. Tiance agreed. The kill was set for tomorrow at noon. After the shadow vanished, Tiance stood at his window in the dark and whispered, 9th brother, don't blame big brother. Blame yourself for being too talented. Then it happened. Across the sky of every second-tier planet, golden burning letters appeared, like someone had carved them into the heavens with a sword. Death Challenge Notice. Challenger. Xueli, level 119, Lawless Domain. Target. Sheng Yuan, level 110, 9th Prince of Holy Light Star. Time. Tomorrow at noon. Rules. Death duel. Ends when one side dies. Cannot be refused. Cannot be stopped. No outside interference. Both fighters would be forcibly teleported to the arena. The entire star region would watch the live broadcast. Every planet saw it. Every Star Lord looked up. On Star Chun, the Star Lord read the notice from his highest terrace. He was shocked that I'd gone from level 100 to 110 in just 9 days. Impossible even for a God tier talent, he said. But he figured it didn't matter. Xueli was 9 levels above me, which meant 45% damage reduction. Xueli had killed someone at level 123. I was just a kid who'd barely reached 110. There was no way I could win, unless I was Su Lin, someone with a rule-breaking talent. But since I'd awakened 2 SSS level abilities, not a super rule talent, I was destined to die. On Primordial Star, the Star Lord sat on a snow-covered mountain peak, reading the golden words through the blizzard. He said my leveling speed wasn't normal, but it didn't matter. I'd be dead tomorrow. A man fighting for revenge was 10 times stronger than someone who wasn't. He ordered his entire planet to watch. On Dark Abyss Star, the Star Lord sat on his black throne. He asked one of his elders how long it took him to go from level 100 to 110. The elder said 4 years. The Star Lord laughed. I'd done it in 9 days. But he shrugged it off. I was going to die tomorrow anyway. Holy Light Star's god-tier genius, cut down before he could grow. Every Star Lord across the region breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the challenge. I was like a mountain pressing down on their chests, and now someone was about to remove that weight. They wanted me dead, but they were also afraid that if they moved against me themselves, Holy Light Star would destroy them for it. None of them thought I could win. I stood at my window and looked up at the golden burning words stretched across the sky. The Death Challenge notice. My level was right there for everyone to see, 110. The whole star region now knew the 9th Prince of Holy Light Star had jumped from level 100 to 110 in 9 days. The fight itself didn't worry me. That Shweli could stand still and let me hit him and he'd still die. What I needed was a believable explanation for my leveling speed. I couldn't mention my clones. I couldn't say 1,000 copies of me were cultivating at the same time. If anyone figured out I wasn't really Sheng Yuan, I'd lose access to the Trial Tower rewards and everything else tied to this identity. So I came up with a story. I'd say I met a god. I refined it on the walkover. Better to credit the ancestor specifically. More believable. The Emperor called me to his study, just as I expected. He sat behind his desk, golden slit pupils full of questions. 9 days ago you were level 100, he said. Now you're 110. I took 3 years to cover that gap. You did it in 9 days. Explain. I took a breath and started my performance. I told him that 4 days ago, while practicing the holy light art, something called to me from deep inside, from my bones, my blood, my soul. I followed it into a dark, empty space. Then I saw someone. Couldn't see his face. He wasn't glowing. He was light itself. He said one thing. Holy Light Star has finally produced another one. Then he touched my forehead with one finger and poured in a force purer than anything I'd ever felt. He said it was a strand of his original essence, left behind before he ascended. He said Holy Light Star had waited long enough, and it was time for someone to carry on after him. The study went completely silent. The Emperor's hands were shaking. You're saying you met the ancestor? I didn't confirm or deny it directly. I just said I didn't know who it was. He never gave a name. But the power was real. It pushed me from 100 to 110, and I couldn't control or stop it. He stared at me for a long time. Then he laughed. Not a big laugh, but the kind a drowning man makes when he finally grabs a piece of driftwood. Good, he said, and clapped my shoulder. Good. He told me to keep this between us. But then his face turned serious. Tomorrow's death challenge. He couldn't stop it. It was the rules. You can't win, he said. He laid it out. No items allowed in a death duel. No pills, no special tools. Pure strength only. I was level 110. Shweli was 119. 9 levels meant 45% damage reduction on every attack I landed. He'd looked into Shue Li's record. 2 years of underground fighting in the lawless domain. 27 wins, 0 losses. Killed a level 123 3 months ago. His abilities were attack enhancement and critical hit enhancement. Full level 119 top-tier gear, specialized in killing. My attacks would hit him like punching stone. His attacks would cut through me like a knife through tofu. I already knew all this didn't apply to me. I wasn't Sheng Yuan, my talent was rule-breaking. But I couldn't reveal that. And tomorrow I couldn't fight with power that couldn't be explained. I needed to win using something a normal person could understand. I asked if there was any other way. He said the only option to boost real combat power without outside help was learning a martial technique, and not an ordinary one. Only the kind with extreme side effects and extreme power, the kind reserved for life or death moments. He pulled a thin book from his shelf. The cover was dark red, no title, edges worn soft, pages yellowed. 2 characters were carved deep into the cover like someone had gouged them in with their fingernails. Blood explosion art. A forbidden technique of Holy Light Star. Once activated, it put you in a berserk state for 1 minute. Speed multiplied by 10. Attack power multiplied by 100. 100 times? I asked. 100 times, he confirmed. For 1 minute, you could one-shot someone your level. Against someone 9 levels above you. You'd have a chance. I opened the first page. It showed a drawing of a person with veins bulging across their whole body, eyes blood red, looking like a rabid beast. I asked about the side effects. After the 1 minute ended, I'd enter a weakened state for half a month. No abilities, no divine power, couldn't even stand properly. And learning it was extremely difficult. The Emperor himself had been level 120 when he got this book, and it took him 3 years to master the first layer. 3 years. I had one day. He told me he'd also send people to the lawless domain to try to find and kill Schwelly before noon tomorrow. But if they couldn't find him, I'd be on my own. I'll give it everything I've got, I said. I tucked the book into my robe. The Emperor pulled out another thin booklet, his personal notes from when he'd practiced the blood explosion art. The handwriting was messy, ink smeared in places, probably written while his hands were shaking from pain or excitement. The first entry read, "Ignite the bloodline by using spiritual sense to light the divine power in your blood. The moment it ignites, it feels like a red-hot iron rod being shoved into your veins. If you can't endure it, your meridians shatter. You're crippled, worse than dead." I closed the booklet. "If I can't handle it, I'm finished." "Yes," the Emperor said. "Meridians destroyed, cultivation gone. I'll go practice." He stared at me for a few seconds, opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closed it. He just nodded and waved me off. After I left, I walked down the corridor with Uncle Zhong trailing 2 steps behind. I asked him if he'd ever seen a god in his nearly 2,000 years of life. He said no. I asked if he believed gods existed. He paused, then said, "If your highness says they do, this old servant believes it." I smiled and didn't press further. Back in my quarters, I told Uncle Zhong no visitors tonight. Nobody disturbs me until dawn. The door closed. I leaned against it and pulled out the dark red book. The second page showed a meridian map, all 72 main meridians with red arrows flowing from the heart outward to the limbs and looping back. The key principle was written beside it. You're not burning your blood, you're igniting the divine power soaked into it. Blood is the fuse, divine power is the fuel. When the fuel burns out, the fire dies and the blood returns to normal. I thought about it. From level 100 onward, every level up remakes your body with divine power. Blood, bone, muscle, meridians, all saturated with it. Igniting the divine power was like lighting oil-soaked cotton. The cotton itself doesn't burn, but the oil does. The problem was control. Too weak, useless. Too strong, you burn yourself to ash. I sat cross-legged and opened my status panel. My blood volume was enormous. 7,360,000 in units of hundreds of trillions of divine blood. My attack was 736,000 divine attack. Even with the 45% reduction from the level gap, I could kill Schwelly with one punch. But I couldn't show that. If I one-shot a level 119 fighter as a level 110, the entire star region would ask why my attack power was so impossibly high. Sheng Yuan's known amplification from his dual SSS abilities was public information. If my damage went way beyond that coefficient, everyone would be suspicious. That was my real problem. Not winning, hiding how strong I actually was. So I had to learn the blood explosion art and use it as the cover story. Activate it, boost my attack 100 times, kill Schwelly with that boosted power, and everyone would credit the technique, not question my base stats. The logic worked. But the Emperor had taken 3 years to learn the first layer at level 195. I had one day, but I wasn't normal. I had 999 clones. I closed my eyes and sent the command across the void to every single one of them. Practice the blood explosion art. Step 1. Memorize the meridian map, all 72 paths and nodes. Step 2. Learn to ignite. The book described it poetically, but in plain terms. Use your consciousness to touch the divine power in your blood vessels. Touch it, and it lights. Step 3. Control. Keep the fire at the edge, right at the point where it's about to burn through, but hasn't yet. The Emperor's notes said it best, like walking on thin ice over an abyss. 1 fraction too much, and you burn. 1 fraction too little, and it dies. 1,000 clones working like 1,000 parallel computers. Every attempt was a calculation. Every result shared instantly. When one failed, all of them learned why. When one succeeded, all of them learned how. Half an hour in, the first clone found the feeling for ignition. Not brute force, intention. Imagine the divine power as a pool of oil and your consciousness as a match. The match touches the oil and it catches on its own. I synced that insight to everyone. 1 hour in, the 200th clone successfully lit the first thread of divine power. His right arm's veins bulged and turned dark red for 1 second before the fire went out. He'd lost control. Too much fire. The vessels couldn't handle it. Lesson learned. Start with a tiny section and expand slowly. 2 hours in, the 500th clone ignited his entire right arm and held it. The arm swelled slightly, veins pulsing like purple snakes under the skin. He clenched his fist and his knuckles cracked. His attack power showed a tenfold increase. 4 hours in, the 900th clone lit every blood vessel in his body. His skin turned dark red, eyes went blood red, hair stood on end. Attack power, 90 times, almost 100, but not quite. His blood vessels felt like balloons inflated to the bursting point, walls clenching to push the fire out while the ignited divine power pushed to expand. Two forces in a tug-of-war inside every vein. I held the balance. Couldn't let it explode, couldn't let it die. Every clone was running experiments simultaneously. How much fire could the left arm's vessels take? The right leg? The ones around the heart? Every section was different. The Emperor spent 3 years mapping this out because he was one person, testing one vessel at a time, waiting to heal after each mistake. I had 999 people testing 999 variations at once. 1 more hour passed. I opened my eyes. I looked at my hands. Normal skin color. No bulging veins. Normal golden eyes. 100 times. Blood explosion art. First layer, complete. I stared at the number for 3 seconds, then smiled. 3 years, I said to myself. 999 people practicing together, and it took 5 hours. I stood up and rolled my shoulders. My bones cracked twice. The swelling sensation from the blood vessels expanding was still lingering, like sore muscles after a workout. The moon hung in the west, silver light frosting the garden flowers. I still had 6 hours until noon. I decided to try the second layer. I flipped to page 3 of the dark red book. The drawing showed a figure with even more swollen veins than the first layer, eyes burning gold instead of red. The description said, full body bloodline resonance, divine power combustion pushed to maximum efficiency. Duration, 2 minutes instead of 1. Side effects, weakness period cut to 7 days instead of half a month. Attack boost, still 100 times. Speed, still 10 times. That's it. I flipped through the remaining pages. Nothing else. No meridian map. No technique instructions. No step-by-step method. Just 4 words. Comprehend it yourself. I hated those 4 words. The Emperor's personal notes only had 1 line about the second layer. I never succeeded. I touched the threshold several times, but always fell short by a hair. That hair, I can't describe what it is. It's like you know exactly where the door is, but you just can't push it open. I closed my eyes and sent the command to all 999 clones. Practice blood explosion art, second layer. They tried everything. Increasing the fire from layer 1. Lighting more vessels at once. Connecting the burning vessels into a single sheet. All failed. Not. Almost got it. Failures. Don't even know what I'm doing. Failures. Half an hour. 1 hour. 2 hours. Nothing. I opened my eyes and exhaled. Not a single clue. I stood and paced the room. The first layer had a clear path. Maps, instructions, steps. The second layer was just, figure it out. Dawn came. Uncle Jean offered breakfast through the door. I told him to leave it. I stared at the brightening sky and thought harder. The second layer wanted full-body bloodline resonance. In the first layer, I'd ignited the divine power inside my blood vessels. But after ignition, there was still a gap between the burning divine power in the vessels and the quiet divine power in the rest of my body, muscles, bones, skin. Like oil and water stirred together, but never truly mixed. The second layer wasn't about igniting. It was about resonance. Then I remembered an experiment from when I was a kid. 2 tuning forks. Strike one and the other vibrates too, as long as their frequencies match. That was the answer. I needed the quiet divine power throughout my body to vibrate at the same frequency as the burning divine power in my blood vessels. Match the frequency, achieve resonance. I closed my eyes and began adjusting. The burning divine power had a fixed vibration. I didn't need to change it. I just needed everything else to match it. The first clone found the trick. Don't force it. Listen. Listen to the sound of the divine power burning in the vessels. Then let the rest of the body's divine power imitate that sound. Get the imitation right, and the vibration starts on its own. I synced the insight to all 999 clones. Some heard the sound, but couldn't copy it. Some copied it, but the frequency was off. Some matched the frequency, but it only held for a second before falling apart. Every failure taught all of us why. Every success showed all of us how. Right before noon, the 999th clone got it. Every bit of divine power in my entire body vibrated at once. Not just the blood vessels, muscles, bones, meridians, skin. Every cell containing divine power, all humming together at the same frequency. Like 999 tuning forks struck at the same moment. I opened my eyes and looked at my hands. Golden light flowed under my skin, not just through the veins, but from every cell. I stood up and my bones cracked twice, not from joints popping, but from the divine power inside them vibrating. The attack number on my panel hadn't changed, but I knew the difference. In the first layer, the 100 times boost was borrowed from the blood vessels, temporary, returned when finished. Now, every particle of divine power in my whole body resonated together. The power was mine. Blood explosion art, second layer, complete. 2 minutes duration. 7 days of weakness. 100 times attack, 10 times speed. Meanwhile, the rest of the star region was watching. In the discussion hall, the Emperor had been sitting in his chair for 11 straight hours without sleeping. Elder Sheng Xian stood behind him holding a communication stone connected to the teams sent to find Shui Li in the lawless domain. Every time the stone lit up, he'd listen, then shake his head. Tens of millions of people had been searching for over 10 hours. No sign of Shui Li. Sheng Tian stood at the front with his perfect warm smile, quietly watching the light screen, waiting for a particular outcome. Sheng Tianjiao stood beside him, looking sick. He'd been awake all night, unable to stop thinking about how I'd gained 10 levels in 9 days when he couldn't even gain one in a month. But he wasn't here out of concern. He was here to watch me die. On every other planet, the Star Lords were watching too. Primordial Star's Lord said the Emperor would definitely have me practice the blood explosion art, the only hope for a level 110 to fight a level 119. Could I learn it in 1 day? He laughed. The Emperor took 3 years. 1 day was impossible, unless I was Su Lin. Star Chen's Lord said if I could learn the blood explosion art in a single day, he'd eat his teacup on the spot. He shook his head. Absolutely impossible. Dark Abyss, Star's Lord grinned. 1 day? Not a chance. I was dead for certain. Chaos Star's Lord didn't even bother looking at the broadcast. He crouched over a chess game, playing against himself. When someone asked what if I pulled it off, he looked up and asked if they'd ever seen anyone learn the blood explosion art in 1 day. They shook their head. Neither had he. So there was no what if. Back in the discussion hall, the Emperor's communication stone lit up again. He listened for a few seconds. His expression darkened. Still no sign of Shui Li. Nobody in the hall spoke. The Emperor stood and asked where I was. Uncle Zhong stepped forward and said I hadn't left my quarters since last night. Not a single step. The Emperor frowned. Half an hour until noon. He wanted to check on me, but didn't want to interrupt. Let him practice, he said. Call him when it's time. Sheng Tianjiao stood in the crowd with a smirk. He figured I couldn't possibly have learned the blood explosion art in 1 day. He was waiting to watch me die on the arena. Sheng Tianwu caught the smirk. Eighth brother, what are you smiling about? Sheng Tianjiao's face went red. I wasn't smiling. Your mouth was practically at your ears. That's not smiling. Sheng Tian stood at the front with his back to everyone, listening to the exchange. He thought eighth brother was stupid, but stupid people had their uses. After I died, he could use that jealousy for all sorts of things. But not yet. Right now, he just needed to wait for noon, for me to be teleported to the arena, for Shui Li to punch a hole through my chest. Sheng Tianxin stood at the very back, watching Big Brother's shoulders. She saw them relax slightly, like a stone finally about to land. Her heart sank. Big Brother wanted me dead. Then the doors opened. Uncle Zhong walked in faster than usual. The 9th prince has come out. Every head turned. The Emperor stood. Let him in. I walked into the discussion hall. Dark gold robe, hair tied up, face calm. Steady pace. Sheng Tianjiao spoke first, loud, dripping with schadenfreude. 9th brother, did you learn it? I glanced at him. I did. 2 words. Quiet. His smile froze. What? I said I learned it. I walked to the center of the hall and stopped. His mouth hung open. He stared at me, his only thought, impossible. The Emperor took 3 years for the first layer. One day was impossible. You're lying, he blurted out. I looked at him. Why would I lie? He opened his mouth but couldn't answer. He was right. There was no reason to lie. In a death duel, lying was suicide. If I said I'd learned it but hadn't, stepping onto that arena meant death. I had no reason to bluff. Unless I'd actually done it. His face went white. The Emperor walked up to me. You really learned it, really. The first layer? I looked into his eyes and paused for 1 second. Yes, I said yes, but I'd actually completed the second layer. No need to show all my cards. Sheng Tian stood at the front, warm smile still in place, but his fingers were white inside his sleeves. He was thinking, even if I'd learned it, the blood explosion art only lasted 1 minute. If I couldn't kill Xueli in that window, I was dead. And Xueli had survived 2 years of underground fighting, 27 wins, killed a level 123. He could survive 1 minute. Sheng Tianwu rushed over and looked me up and down like I was some kind of freak. You really learned it? Really? He opened his mouth, tried to find words, and landed on one. Damn. Elder Sheng Xian stared at me from the crowd. He wasn't jealous or shocked. He was puzzled. He'd lived nearly 8,000 years and never seen anyone learn the blood explosion art in 1 day. It reminded him of someone. 2 years ago, a person who was equally absurd, survived 10 level 190 attacks at level 30, cleared the world creation domain in 19 minutes. That person was Su Lin. He pushed the thought away. The 9th prince had passed the blood testing stone. He couldn't be Su Lin. Elder Sheng Tianji stood in the corner, hands tucked in his sleeves, head bowed like he was napping. But he wasn't sleeping. He was watching. He knew something. This 9th prince had secrets. Big ones. The countdown in the sky hit 3 minutes. The Emperor stood before me. Remember, the blood explosion art only lasts 1 minute. You must kill him within that minute. If you don't, you die. I know. The countdown ticked down. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Sheng Tian's turned to me with his warm smile. Big brother believes in you. You can do it. I looked at his eyes. Thanks, big brother. The moment he turned away, his smile sank beneath the surface of his face, down into the bone. With 45 seconds left, the Emperor stepped back and asked if I had anything to say. I thought about it. If I win, can I pick one thing from the Imperial Treasury? The hall went quiet for a beat. Sheng Tianwu burst out laughing. You're about to step onto the arena, and you're thinking about the treasury? I'm fighting either way, I said. What's wrong with thinking about what comes after? The Emperor stared at me for 3 seconds, then laughed. Deal. Win, and you pick one item. No restrictions. Then it's settled. 12 seconds. The air in the center of the hall began to warp. A golden beam of light shot down from the void and hit me. Blinding. Everyone shut their eyes. When they opened them, I was gone. I was standing on the death arena. About 100 meters across, black stone floor carved with dark red glowing runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. A transparent dome surrounded it, covered in golden symbols. Beyond the dome, endless void, pitch black. But floating in that void were millions of light screens, each one connected to a second-tier planet. Millions of worlds, trillions of eyes, all watching. I looked around, then down at the stone under my feet. This place is kind of shabby, I said. Nobody answered, because someone had appeared on the other end of the arena. He was tall, at least 6'3". Dark red battle armor covered in scars, some patched, some left open showing the black lining underneath. Blood-red hair hanging past his shoulders. A scar running from his left eyebrow to his right jaw, splitting his entire face in two. Xueli, level 119. 2 years in the lawless domain, 27 fights, 0 losses. He stared at me with dark red eyes like clotted blood. Holy light star. 9th prince. His voice was like sandpaper on stone. I looked back at him. Blood flame star. Leftover. His eyes narrowed. You want to die? You're the one who challenged me, I said. I haven't even settled my score with you yet, and you're saying I want to die? A phantom figure appeared at the center of the arena. Tall, gray robe, white featureless mask. He announced the rules. One side dies, the match ends. No items, no pills, no external objects. No outside interference, violators die. Then one word. Begin. Xueli moved. Terrifyingly fast. All his level 119 power poured into his legs, cracking a crater in the black stone. His dark red armor left an afterimage in the air as he launched at me like a cannonball. One punch, wrapped in dark red light. His dual abilities, attack enhancement and critical hit enhancement. Full power. No testing, no warm-up. He wanted to kill me with one blow. The same way Holy Light Star had killed his entire clan 2 years ago. I activated the blood explosion art. I put my hand on my chest, over my heart, and let it go. My skin turned dark red starting from my neck, spreading inch by inch. Blood vessels bulged up under the skin like snakes, like tree roots, like a web, all radiating out from my heart to my limbs. Golden blood flowed through those dark red veins like lava crawling through cracks. My eyes shifted from gold to blood red. My hair rose up. My dark gold robe stretched tight, a button on my sleeve popping off and bouncing across the stone floor. Every breath I took was heavy like a bellows, the air coming out of my nose hot and carrying the faint smell of blood. Across the star region, everyone recognized it instantly. The dark red skin, the bulging veins, the blood red eyes, the floating hair. Blood explosion art. On Holy Light Star, Sheng Tianwu's battle axe slipped out of his hand and clanged on the floor. He didn't pick it up. He just stood there with his mouth open. He really learned it. Sheng Tianyun's hands were shaking, not from fear, from shock. He'd seen recordings of the Emperor using the blood explosion art thousands of years ago, at level 195. The Emperor had looked exactly like I did right now. Sheng Tianjiao's face went from white to ash gray, like a corpse. He remembered saying, "You're lying," just minutes ago. Now the whole star region could see the truth on the light screen. You couldn't fake the blood explosion art state. His knees buckled, and he grabbed a pillar. Sheng Tian stood at the front, warm smile still on, but behind his back his fingernails had dug into his palms until they bled. He didn't feel it. He told himself not to panic. The blood explosion art only lasted 1 minute. Shueli just had to survive 1 minute. A man who'd fought underground for 2 years could handle that. His fingers slowly unclenched. The Emperor stood at the front, watching the light screen, and a single quiet word left his mouth. Good. He remembered his own 3 years of struggle to learn the technique. I'd done it in 1 day. Elder Sheng Xian stared at the screen, his doubts growing heavier. 1 day to learn the blood explosion art. He'd only seen this kind of rule-breaking in one person. Su Lin. He pushed the thought down again, but it was harder this time. On Primordial Star, the Star Lord set his teacup down so hard it shattered on the rock. He still insisted I'd die. 1 minute wasn't enough. On Star Chan, the Star Lord's elder carefully reminded him he'd promised to eat his teacup if I learned it. The Star Lord set the cup on the railing. We'll deal with that later. On Dark Abyss Star, the Star Lord jumped out of his throne so fast the chair slid into the wall. He confirmed I'd really learned it, but told himself it didn't matter. After 1 minute, I'd be a cripple. On Chaos Star, the Star Lord held a chess piece frozen in the air, staring at the screen. This kid is a monster, he muttered. On the arena, Shueli had frozen mid-punch. He'd never seen anything like this. My skin turning dark red in 2 seconds, veins rising like snakes, eyes going blood red. He recognized it, blood explosion art. He'd heard about it in the lawless domain. 100 times attack, 10 times speed, but only for 1 minute. He pulled his fist back and stepped away. Not from fear, he was reassessing. He just had to last 60 seconds. After that, I'd be helpless and he could kill me however he wanted. 1 minute, he said. That's all you've got. I looked down at my hand. Veins bulging like worms under the skin. I clenched my fist. Knuckles cracked. 1 minute, I looked up at him. That's enough, I moved. Not running, more like teleportation. My body crossed the entire arena in an instant, leaving a dark red streak behind me like a meteor. Shueli's pupils shrank. He saw me move, but his body couldn't keep up. He was 9 levels above me. His reaction speed should have been faster. But the blood explosion art multiplied my speed by 10. By the time his eyes registered me in front of him, my fist was already there. I was controlling my strength carefully, hitting at the level Sheng Yuan's stats would allow with the blood explosion art. If I hit at full power, he'd be dead instantly, and that would raise questions. First punch to the chest. A deep thud, like a hammer on a leather drum. He stumbled back 3 steps. His armor dented slightly, but didn't break. He could take this level of force. His mouth started to curl. Is that all you? Second punch. Same spot. He flew back 5 steps. His chest started hurting. His expression changed. I didn't give him time to breathe. Third, fourth, fifth, all the same spot. The sounds came rapid fire like drum beats. The dent in his chest armor deepened and cracks spread outward like a spiderweb. Dark red blood seeped through the cracks and ran down his armor. He tried to hit back. He couldn't. I was too fast. With 10 times speed, his level 119 reactions looked like slow motion. He'd see my fist coming, try to dodge, and his body wouldn't move in time. Sixth, seventh, eighth. Blood leaked from the corner of his mouth, not from surface wounds, but from damaged organs. His eyes went red, not from any technique, but from rage. 2 years of underground fighting, 27 wins, and nobody had ever done this to him. He tried to roar, but blood clogged his throat. Ninth, 10th. Each punch landed with a wet thud. His chest armor shattered. Dark red fragments scattered across the black stone, clinking and clattering. 11th, 12th. More blood from his mouth, streaming down his chin onto the broken armor. He started stumbling backward, not by choice, beaten backward step by step until his back hit the transparent barrier at the arena's edge. Nowhere left to go. I stood in front of him, dark red skin, blood-red eyes. I raised my fist. 13. Shui Li's eyes turned into the kind of red you see in a cornered animal. He bit down and squeezed words through his teeth. You made me do this. My fist paused. I watched his right hand reach for his chest. 5 fingers spread out, pressing over his heart. The exact same motion I'd just made. Then his skin started changing. Not the dark red of my blood explosion art. Darker, almost black. His veins bulged out too, but thicker and denser than mine, like tree roots wrapped around his entire body. His eyes went from dark red to pure black. No pupils, no whites, just 2 black holes. His hair stood straight up. The pressure coming off him changed. It didn't get sharper, it got heavier. Like a mountain dropping onto the arena. Blood demon body. Across the star region, every Star Lord reacted at once. On Primordial Star, the Star Lord jumped to his feet, voice shaking. Blood demon body. Blood flame star's forbidden technique. His aide explained it. 1 minute of defense multiplied by 10. After the minute ended, the user would be weakened but still able to fight. Unlike the blood explosion art, which left you completely helpless. The Star Lord smiled. Sheng Yuan is finished. On Star Chun, the Star Lord picked up his cold tea and raised it toward the light screen like a toast. Sheng Yuan, your luck just ran out. On Dark Abyss Star, the Star Lord slapped his armrests and stood. Blood demon body. Defense times 10. Sheng Yuan's 100 times attack hits Shui Li and only 10 times gets through. He paced around his hall, grinning. After my 1 minute ended, I'd be crippled. Shui Li would be weakened, but still standing. A cripple against a man who could still move. The answer was obvious. On Chaos Star, the Star Lord crushed a chess piece in his hand, the shards cutting into his palm. He didn't notice. He wondered how Shui Li had learned Blood Flame Star's secret technique. Then he figured it out. Shui Li had escaped before the massacre. He'd carried the last of Blood Flame Star's inheritance with him. In the discussion hall on Holy Light Star, silence fell like death. Sheng Tianwu stared at the screen, voice strangled. Blood demon body. Sheng Tianyun gripped his thin sword. Blood Flame Star's secret technique. Defense multiplied by 10. His voice went dry. Blood explosion art against blood demon body. 100 times attack against 10 times defense. Sheng Yuan can't kill him within 1 minute. Sheng Tianjiao's eyes lit up. His smile crept back. Ninth brother is going to lose, he said, loud enough for the whole hall to hear. Sheng Tianwu whipped around and glared at him. What did you say? Sheng Tianjiao didn't look at him. He kept staring at the screen, smile growing wider. He repeated it. 1 minute was all the blood explosion art gave me. If I couldn't kill Shui Li in that window, I died. And now with 10 times defense, my 100 times attack would barely hurt him. Sheng Tianwu's face went red. He wanted to argue but couldn't, because he knew it was true. Sheng Tian stood at the front, back to everyone, warm smile still perfectly placed. His fingers behind his back slowly unclenched, a stone finally landing. Blood demon body. 1 minute. Then I'd be helpless. Shui Li would still be standing. The result didn't need thinking about. He closed his eyes and breathed. The Emperor stared at the screen, pupils contracting. He knew exactly what this meant. I couldn't punch through 10 times defense. If I couldn't break through, I couldn't kill him. If I couldn't kill him before the minute ended, he closed his eyes. He didn't finish the thought. In Imperial Consort Hua's chambers, she stood at her window watching the light screen, face white as paper, lips trembling, fingers gripping the window frame until her knuckles went white. She whispered to herself, "Don't die. You promised me. You promised to help me get revenge." On the arena, I stared at the man across from me. Shueli leaned against the barrier at the arena's edge. Skin nearly black, veins like tree roots covering his whole body. Pure black eyes with no pupils and no whites. Hair standing straight up. The pressure rolling off him had changed. Not sharper, just heavier. Like a mountain. I wasn't worried. My blood explosion art was at the second layer. 2 minutes, not one. I could keep fighting at Sheng Yuan's power level until the last second or two. And if that wasn't enough, I'd unleash my real strength for one final blow. My mouth twitched into a small smile. Shueli saw it. His pupils shrank. "What are you smiling about?" I didn't answer. I just hit him again. 14th punch. He raised both arms to block. The impact cracked his arm armor and sent him stumbling sideways. He looked down at the damage, then back up at me. "You can't break through. Blood demon body, 10 times defense. Your attacks can only scratch me." "Really?" I said. 15th punch. His shoulder. His body sank. His knee buckled, but he stayed up. 16th. 17th. 18th. I kept hammering. Shoulders, chest, arms, stomach. He staggered around the arena's edge, blood leaking from his mouth, armor shattered, skin covered in bruises. But he stayed standing. He grinned through the blood. "Your minute's almost up. How long do you have?" 10 seconds? 20. I said nothing. His grin widened. "Once the blood explosion art ends, you're helpless. I can kill you however I want." He licked the blood from his lips. "How do you think I'll do it?" Across the star region, everyone was counting down. In the discussion hall, Sheng Tianwu was drenched in sweat. "How much time left?" Sheng Tianyan said under 20 seconds. Sheng Tianwu's face went white. He punched a pillar and swore. Sheng Tianjiao couldn't hold back his smile anymore. "Ninth brother is going to lose," he said again, louder this time. Sheng Tianwu screamed at him to shut up. Sheng Tianjiao just smiled. "I'm stating facts. Why are you upset?" The emperor stood at the front, fingers white inside his sleeves. He was counting too. He remembered his own blood explosion art fights, always desperate in the final seconds. But those were against opponents at his own level. I was facing someone 9 levels above me who'd activated 10 times defense. He thought it was impossible now. Elder Sheng Xian watched the screen, and something bothered him. My expression. A normal person in the last few seconds would be panicking, desperate, frantic. But my face hadn't changed once from the start. Calm. Too calm. Like I wasn't afraid of the minute ending at all. He couldn't figure out why. Imperial Consort Hua gripped her window frame, nails digging into the wood. "Hurry. Kill him," she whispered. But on screen, I kept punching, and Shueli kept standing. Her eyes went red with fear. She'd waited over 20 years for someone who could help her get revenge. She couldn't lose me here. Every Star Lord was gloating. Primordial Star's Lord stood up and announced my death was seconds away. Star Chin's Lord raised his cold tea in a toast. Dark Abyss Star's Lord guessed Shueli would torture me to death slowly. Chaos Star's Lord counted down to 1. On the arena, Shueli started his own countdown, grinning through the blood on his face. 3. My fist hit his chest. He didn't budge. 2. My fist hit his shoulder. Still nothing. 1. His grin exploded wide. "Time's up." He waited for me to collapse. Waited for my skin to turn normal. Waited for my veins to flatten. Waited for my eyes to shift back to gold. Waited for me to crumple like a rag. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. I was still standing. Dark red skin. Bulging veins. Blood red eyes. Exactly the same as 10 seconds ago. His grin froze on his face. "You." My fist smashed into his face. He flew across the arena and slammed into the barrier on the far side. He hit the ground face first, skull buried in the stone. His brain was buzzing. Not from the punch, from confusion. The minute was up. The blood explosion art should have ended. Why was I still standing? Why was my state unchanged? He pushed himself off the ground. His nose was bent sideways, blood pouring from both nostrils. He stared at me. "You? Why?" I looked at him. "Who told you I only had 1 minute?" In the discussion hall, dead silence. Sheng Tianwu's mouth hung open wide enough to fit a fist. He stared at the screen, dark red skin, bulging veins, blood-red eyes. Same as 20 seconds ago. He's still going? His voice cracked. Nobody had an answer. 1 minute was the rule. They'd all seen recordings of the Emperor using blood explosion art. Exactly 1 minute, not a second more. Sheng Tianzhao's smile vanished. His face went corpse white. His lips trembled. Impossible. Impossible. His knees buckled, and he grabbed a pillar, fingers shaking. The Emperor stared at the screen, pupils shrunk to pinpoints. Then a thought hit him, one he'd never dared to consider. The second layer. Blood explosion art, second layer. 2 minutes. He'd read those lines in the book, but he'd never imagined anyone could actually reach it. He'd spent thousands of years trying and never even found the door. And I'd done it in 1 day? Not just learned the first layer, but comprehended the second on my own? Elder Sheng Xian stood behind him, and the same thought surfaced again, the one he'd pushed down twice already. This person was too much like Su Lin. Not in appearance, in the ability to do impossible things. Su Lin survived 10 level 190 attacks at level 30. Su Lin cleared the world creation domain. Sheng Yuan mastered the blood explosion art's second layer in a single day. He told himself the 9th prince had passed the blood testing stone. Bloodline couldn't lie, but when he opened his eyes, the thought was still there. It hadn't left. Across every planet, the Star Lords were stunned. Primordial Star's Lord crushed his teacup without realizing it, shards cutting into his palm. Impossible. Blood explosion art is 1 minute. That's iron law. The Emperor trained for 3 years and never broke past it. Star Qin's Lord dropped his cup. It shattered on the stone. He didn't look down. He's still standing. His voice had changed. Not surprise, but the sound of a worldview collapsing. Dark Abyss, Star's Lord gripped his throne until it creaked. Why is he still standing? He turned to his entire court. Can anyone tell me why he's still standing? Nobody dared speak. Chaos Star's Lord was the only one who figured it out. Second layer, he said. Blood explosion art, second layer. 2 minutes. Same attack boost, same speed boost. But only 7 days of weakness. He'd researched it. In all of Holy Light Star's history, only the Ancestor had ever reached the second layer. And even the Ancestor certainly hadn't done it in 1 day. He stared at the screen, and for the first time in tens of thousands of years, he couldn't understand what he was looking at. On the arena, Shueli slowly got to his feet. Broken nose, blood everywhere, armor destroyed, chest covered in bruises. What layer did you reach? He asked. I looked at him. Guess. His mouth twitched. He couldn't guess. But he knew one thing. He was running out of time. His blood demon body had less than 30 seconds left. After that, his defense would crash back to normal. And my blood explosion art was still going, with no sign of stopping. Could be 10 seconds left. Could be 20. Could be a full minute. He had no idea. I took a step forward. Shueli took a step back and hit the barrier. Nowhere left to go. Scared? I asked. He tried to play it cool, talking tough about his 27 wins, calling me a kid, saying my blood explosion art was about to run out. Trying to make me panic, make me rush, make me slip up. 2 years of underground fighting had taught him that trick. When you can't win, make your opponent make mistakes. I cut him off. How do you know my blood explosion art is ending soon? His words stuck in his throat. You guessed, I said. You guessed wrong. I stopped hitting him. There was no point. His blood demon body was still active, and my controlled punches weren't doing enough damage. So I waited. 30 seconds passed. His skin shifted back to normal. No, worse than normal. He looked drained, barely able to stand. The blood demon body was gone, and the weakness had set in. He looked at me. My blood explosion art was still burning exactly the same as before. The despair in his eyes told me he finally understood. He was about to die. I raised my right fist. The veins on my hand bulged even more, dark red light spilling off my knuckles like fire. First punch, his left kneecap. A wet crack. His leg bent the wrong way, and he went down sideways, trying to catch himself with one arm. He screamed. He'd broken ribs before, broken arms, broken collarbones. But never a knee. A broken knee means you can't stand. On an arena, that means death. He tried to push backward with his right leg, but my second punch was already there. Right kneecap. Another crack. Both legs snapped below the knee, bent at ugly angles like broken branches. He was flat on the ground, dragging himself forward with his arms, fingernails clawing into the stone until they bled. He crawled less than half a meter. Third punch to his back. He flattened against the stone like a pancake. His spine cracked, but didn't break. Close, though. Blood poured from his mouth onto the black stone, mixing with the glowing red runes until you couldn't tell blood from light. I crouched down and looked at him. You're wondering why my blood explosion art hasn't ended. His eyes locked onto mine, full of hate, frustration, and confusion. Because mine isn't the first layer, I said. His pupils shrank. He'd spent 2 years studying Holy Light Star. He knew about the second layer. 2 minutes, the level only the ancestor had ever reached. And here I was, level 110, having learned it in a single day. He didn't want to believe it. But his legs were broken, his back was caved in, and blood was pouring from his mouth. Facts were facts. Who are you? His voice came out broken, like a leaking bellows. I looked at him for a second. Then I smiled. Faint light. Guess. Fear finally overtook everything else in his eyes. I could see him thinking of a name. A name that shook the entire star region 2 years ago. A name connected to Blood Flame, Star's destruction. Someone who died 2 years ago and came back. Someone who killed over 1,000 monsters in a secret realm, one-shot a dragon, grabbed the reward, and then killed himself. You're. I didn't let him finish. One punch to the head. The arena's light screen went dark. Every second-tier planet's broadcast froze on the final frame. My fist pressed against Shui Li's skull, his eyes wide open, my calm face reflected in his pupils. Then the image disappeared. In the discussion hall, dead silence. Sheng Tianwu stood with his mouth hanging open, staring at the blank screen like a fish pulled out of water. He won? Sheng Tianyan stared at the dark screen. Ninth brother won. His voice was flat, but everyone could hear him forcing it flat, holding down shock, excitement, and disbelief all at once. Sheng Tianjiao stood in the crowd, face gray as a corpse. Lips trembling, fingers trembling, knees trembling. He gripped a pillar and clawed white marks into the wood. I'd won. Level 110 against level 119 with blood demon body active. And he was still stuck at 100. He didn't even have the courage to talk tough to me anymore. He stood frozen like an abandoned statue. Sheng Tian stood at the front, back to everyone, warm smile still on. But if anyone could have seen his eyes, the light in them had gone out, like someone blew out a candle. Behind his back, his nails dug into his palms until blood dripped onto the floor. He'd spent 10,000 divine power pills, hired the Lawless Domain's top organization. They'd picked an elite killer who even had the blood demon body. And I'd won anyway. I walked off that arena alive. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and forced the smile back on. He turned around to face the hall. Ninth brother won, he announced, voice loud, steady, with just the right amount of excitement. Our Holy Light Star's ninth prince has won. The hall exploded. Cheers crashed against the walls and bounced back, colliding with more cheers. The emperor stood at the front. His expression was complicated, pride and shock tangled together. He'd spent 3 years learning the first layer. His son had learned the second in a day. He wasn't sure if he should be happy or feel like he'd wasted his life. Good, he said. One word, but it carried the weight of someone who'd been waiting for this moment for a very long time. He turned to the fourth elder. In Holy Light Star's history, besides the ancestor, has anyone else ever mastered the blood explosion art's second layer? The fourth elder stepped forward. No, Star Lord. After the ancestor, there has been no second person. The hall went quiet again. Elder Sheng Xian stood behind the emperor, brow furrowed so tight it looked stitched. Blood explosion art, second layer, in 1 day. Nearly 8,000 years of life. And he'd never seen anything like it. He'd searched every corner of his memory, every genius, every prodigy. Nothing even close. The thought rose again, the one he'd pushed down 3 times now. This person was too much like Su Lin. Not in looks, in the ability to do impossible things. He reminded himself, the ninth prince had passed the blood testing stone. Bloodline didn't lie. He opened his eyes. The thought was still there, lodged like a thorn he couldn't pull out. The teleportation array on the arena lit up. Golden light shot down from the void and wrapped around me. When it faded, I was standing in the discussion hall. Everyone in the hall was staring at the golden pillar of light when I appeared. My dark gold robe was covered in blood, not mine, Shui Li's. My hair was messy, and there was a shallow scratch across my face from flying debris. I stood there for about 2 seconds. Then my legs gave out. It was like someone yanked the bones right out of me. My knees hit the stone floor with a thud. I tried to catch myself with my hands, but my arms were dead weight. I went from kneeling to sprawling to lying on my side, cheek pressed against the cold stone, gasping for air. The dark red color was draining from my skin like a receding tide, starting from my fingers and toes, inch by inch returning to normal. The bulging veins flattened. My eyes shifted from blood red back to gold, but a washed-out, faded gold. Sheng Tianwu rushed over first, crouching beside me, reaching out to help but pulling back because he didn't know where to grab. Ninth brother, are you okay? My voice came out dry and cracked. Still alive. He relaxed for a second, then panicked again when he saw my face. White as paper, lips completely bloodless, breathing so shallow it sounded like it might stop any moment. He yelled for the imperial physician. Sheng Tianyan walked over and told him to stop shouting. The blood explosion art side effects couldn't be fixed by doctors. I had to recover on my own. I lay on the stone floor and tried to activate my divine power. Nothing. Tried again. Nothing. It was like my power had fallen into a deep sleep at the bottom of my veins and refused to wake up. I opened my panel. Status: blood explosion art aftermath, weakness period. Duration: 7 days. All divine power, abilities, skills, and techniques disabled. And the last line hit me hardest. All passive skills temporarily inactive. That included my percentage-based health recovery. My passive that restored 100% of my max health every second. Gone for 7 days. The Emperor walked over and looked down at me. He confirmed the side effects. The second layer shortened the weakness from half a month to 7 days. 7 days? I said. The trial tower was tomorrow. 7 days from now, it would be long closed. Is there any way to speed up my recovery? I asked. Tomorrow is the trial tower. Right now I can't even walk through the door. The hall went quiet. Everyone understood the problem. The Emperor turned to the fourth elder. Is there a way? Elder Sheng Tianji stepped forward, hands tucked in his sleeves, and looked down at me like he was examining a rock. Yes. The refining heart pool. Several elders' faces changed the instant he said those words. Sheng Tianwu went white. The refining heart pool? That refining heart pool. Elder Sheng Tianji glanced at him. Does Holy Light Star have a second one? I lay on the floor watching Sixth Brother's face cycle through white, green, and purple like a chameleon. Sixth Brother, what's wrong with your face? He didn't answer. I asked what the refining heart pool was. The fourth elder explained, a training ground left by the ancestor. The spiritual liquid inside could temper the body, repair meridians, rebuild bone and muscle. It could also accelerate the removal of forbidden technique side effects. 12 hours of soaking would completely eliminate the blood explosion art's aftermath. 12 hours. That would put me right at tomorrow, and the trial tower didn't open until the morning after. Just enough time. Then let's do it, I said. Sheng Tianwu couldn't hold back anymore. He told me I had no idea what that pool was like. The liquid repaired your body, but the process was a living hell. 8 out of 10 people who entered couldn't last the full 12 hours and had to be pulled out. Survivors described it as being sliced by 1,000 knives, being thrown into a volcano, worse than death. I listened, paused for 3 seconds, and said, that's it. He stared at me, speechless. The Emperor spoke up. It wasn't about being brave, he said. The pool's liquid amplified all sensation by 10 times. Pain that normally hurt would hurt 10 times worse. Fear you normally felt would be 10 times stronger. And there was no way to lessen it. No divine power, no abilities, no pills, no closing your eyes, no sleeping. I'd have to endure all 12 hours fully conscious, start to finish, feeling everything. The hall went silent. Everyone stared at me. I lay there looking up at the ceiling painting. The ancestor riding a dragon, holding a sword pointed at the sky. Looked pretty cool. If I make it through, can I stand up tomorrow? Yes. Then there's nothing to discuss. Take me to the pool. The Emperor stared at me for a long time, then nodded. He told the fourth elder to bring me. Elder Sheng Tianji crouched beside me and placed his hand on my shoulder. A gentle force lifted me off the ground, and I floated in the air like a wooden plank held up by invisible hands. My body still couldn't move at all. Hold on, Ninth Prince, he said. Hold on to what? I can't feel anything right now. He didn't answer. He carried me out through the hall, down a long corridor. The emperor walked at the front, 12 elders behind him, then the princes and princesses, then the family heads. A whole procession. I floated along, watching the corridor's ceiling pass overhead. There were paintings up there too. Every Star Lord and Holy Light Star's history, one after another, like a river flowing from ancient times to now. I asked where the pool was. Underground, the fourth elder said. The ancestor had carved out a space deep beneath the palace when he built it, 3,600 steps down from the surface. Don't people get tired going down there to train? I asked. He glanced at me. The refining heart pool isn't for regular training. In all of Holy Light Star's history, fewer than 100 people have entered it. I shut up after that. We passed through 3 covered walkways and 2 gardens, reaching the deepest part of the palace, somewhere I'd never been, and Sheng Yuan's memories didn't cover either. In front of us was a door. Black, massive, at least 5 meters tall, 3 meters wide, covered in carved runes with golden light pulsing through them like a heartbeat. The fourth elder stopped. We're here. The fourth elder pressed his hand against the massive door. Golden light merged with the runes, and the door swung open, revealing a wide staircase descending into the earth. Black stone steps, each one tall, with bronze lamps burning gold flames every 10 paces along the walls. He carried me floating down all 3,600 steps. It took about 15 minutes. At the bottom was a huge underground space with a ceiling so high you couldn't see the top. The walls were covered in carvings, all of the same person, the ancestor. Young and conquering, middle-aged and ruling, old and ascending to the heavens. In the center was the pool, about 10 meters across, black stone walls carved with runes, filled with a silver-white liquid that looked like mercury but brighter. The surface was perfectly still, like a mirror. The fourth elder set me on the pool's edge and told me to strip. The liquid needed direct contact with skin. Clothing would block it. I looked behind me. The emperor, 12 elders, several princes and princesses, family heads, dozens of eyes all staring at me, including women, including Sheng Tianxin. Could you all turn around? Nobody moved. Sheng Tianwu grinned. Ninth brother, you were so fierce on the arena just now. Scared of people seeing you undress? I couldn't even move on my own, so I called Uncle Zhong. He knelt beside me and started unbuttoning my robe, fingers steady but trembling slightly at the tips. Nearly 2,000 years old, served countless masters, but he'd never undressed one in front of this many people before. The dark gold robe came off, then the cracked inner armor. I sat on the pool's edge bare-chested. My body was a little bigger than Sheng Yuan's had been. Wider shoulders, more visible muscle. But what stood out were the blood vessels bulging under my skin everywhere, the aftermath of the blood explosion art, like dark red snakes coiled across my whole body. The fourth elder lifted me and lowered me into the pool. The silver-white liquid rose past my ankles, knees, waist, chest. The instant it touched my skin, I felt a coolness, not cold, but the kind that seeps out from between your bones. Then the cool turned to heat. Heat that drilled through my skin into muscle, into blood vessels, into bone. The heat turned to burning, like someone taking a red-hot blade and scraping me layer by layer, skin first, then muscle, then bone, then marrow. My teeth ground together. I didn't make a sound. The liquid stopped at my neck. I leaned against the pool wall, back of my head resting on cold stone, eyes closed. It was agony. Every single cell felt like it was being stabbed with a needle. The liquid seeped into my skin, found the veins that the blood explosion art had swollen, torn, and twisted, and started stitching them back together with impossibly fine needles. The broken blood vessel walls were regrowing from both ends, reaching toward each other like 2 bridges being built from opposite banks. When the 2 sides met and connected, it felt like being hit with a hammer. 1 minute in, I opened my eyes and looked at the crowd around the pool. Dozens of eyes, worried, curious, entertained, calculating. I couldn't keep going like this. I'd lose my mind. So I shifted my consciousness. Not all of it. I left a thread behind to keep the body breathing, keep the heart beating, keep the teeth-clenching expression going. The rest of my awareness traveled across the void and landed in my clone's body in that rental room on Star Chun. I opened my eyes in the rental, rolled my neck. No pain. Not even a little. I sat up, swung my arms, twisted my waist. Nice, I said. I walked to the window, and pushed it open. Blue sky, blinding white sunlight, crowded streets below. People chatting about me. Did you hear? The ninth prince won. Obviously, the whole star region watched. Blood explosion art's second layer, learned in one day. Is this guy even human? No. He's a god-tier talent. Even god-tier talent isn't this ridiculous. Then what is he? I don't know. He's not human. I leaned on the windowsill and pulled out a piece of osmanthus cake from my soul storage. Imperial Consort Hua had made them, and I'd stashed a few to eat slowly. I took a bite. Sweet. The body in the pool was still in pain. I could feel it, but it was like watching someone else hurt through glass. You know the fire is big, but it can't burn you. I took another bite and chewed. I wondered if staying completely silent in the pool would seem suspicious. The emperor had said people who entered the refining heart pool screamed so loud the whole palace could hear. My body sitting there without making a sound might look abnormal. I thought about it, then shrugged. One more abnormal thing on top of everything else wouldn't make a difference. 9 days to gain 10 levels, 1 day to master the blood explosion art's second layer, and now enduring the refining heart pool without screaming. What was one more? I finished the cake and dusted off my hands. Back at the pool, my body sat with eyes closed, teeth clenched, perfectly still. The silver-white liquid churned gently, glowing on and off like a pulse, repairing everything inside me. That process would continue until tomorrow. Sheng Tianwu crouched at the pool's edge, staring at my face. Why isn't he screaming? Nobody answered. Everyone who's ever gone in there screamed loud enough to be heard across the palace. He hasn't made a single sound. Is he numb from the pain? Sheng Tianyun stood beside him. He's not numb. He's enduring it. You can endure this. The emperor stood on the other side of the pool, watching my face for a long time. Not a single cry. He remembered when he'd entered the pool himself at level 195, badly injured. He'd screamed the entire night. The whole palace heard him. I was only level 110 with worse injuries and more painful repairs. And complete silence. He frowned. This son could endure too much. That was both good and bad. Good because he could survive anything. Bad because the weight of what he carried, nobody would ever know. Not even his father. He told everyone to leave and come back tomorrow. Sheng Tianwu stood up first and told me he'd be back in the morning. Sheng Tianjiao practically ran out. He didn't want to look at my teeth-clenching face because it made him feel worthless. Sheng Tians walked out last. He stopped at the pool's edge, looked down at me for 3 seconds, and said in his warm voice, "Ninth brother, rest well. Big brother will come tomorrow." Then he turned and walked away, steps perfectly steady, fingers behind his back, clenched white. Imperial Consort Hua was the very last. She stood at the pool's edge, looking down at my face, pale, with bite marks on the lips. She reached out to touch my cheek. Her fingers hung in the air for a long time. Then she pulled them back. "Get well?" she whispered, so quietly only she could hear. She turned and left. Uncle Zhong stayed. He knelt at the pool's edge and didn't move. The emperor glanced at him and asked if he was staying. "This old servant will watch over the ninth prince," he said. The emperor nodded and left. The door closed. Footsteps faded. Just my body in the pool and Uncle Zhong kneeling beside it. Time passed quickly. Morning came. Golden light leaked through the cracks in the ceiling and fell on the pool, turning the silver-white liquid a pale gold. My body had been leaning against the pool wall all night, eyes closed. Uncle Zhong had knelt beside the pool without sleeping for a single moment. Footsteps echoed through the underground space. The emperor arrived first, followed by the 12 elders, the princes and princesses, and the family heads. Dozens of people, their footsteps bouncing off the walls like distant thunder. The emperor looked down at me. "How is he?" Uncle Zhong stood up, his knees cracking twice. He reported that my breathing had stabilized and the liquid's churning had slowed. The repair was nearly finished. Sheng Tianwu leaned over the pool's edge and stared at my face. "Ninth brother, are you alive?" No answer. He reached out to poke my face, but Sheng Tianyun grabbed his hand and stopped him. "Don't touch. He's still repairing." "What if you mess something up?" Sheng Tianjiao stood at the very back, as far from the pool as possible. He didn't want to see that teeth-clenching, silent face. It made him feel worthless. He hadn't slept all night, just kept replaying the arena fight in his head. My dark red skin, bulging veins, fists crashing into Shui Li one after another. Broken knees. Caved back. Blood pouring from his mouth. And then I won. Level 110 against level 119. Sheng Tian stood on the other side of the pool, close to me, wearing his warm smile like a mask. His eyes showed concern, worry, and just the right amount of brotherly love. Imperial Consort Hua stood at the very edge of the crowd in a simple light purple dress, no jewelry, like an unnoticed flower. She stared at my face in the pool, pale, blood marks on the lips from biting, blue stubble on the chin. She wanted to walk over and touch my face, wanted to make sure I was alive. But she didn't move. She was the Imperial Consort. She couldn't lose composure in front of everyone. Meanwhile, on Star Chun, my clone was leaning on the windowsill eating another piece of osmanthus cake. I could feel the body in the pool nearing the end of its repair, meridians healing, tightening, regaining their elasticity. Not a bad life, I said, taking another bite. I finished the last piece, dusted off my hands, sat on the bed, closed my eyes, and sent my consciousness back across the void into the body at the pool. I opened my eyes. Golden ceiling above me, carved with stars, some bright, some dim, like a real night sky. The back of my head rested on cold stone, everything below my neck submerged in the silver-white liquid. It had gone still now, flat as a mirror. I moved my fingers. They worked. Moved my toes. Also worked. I tried making a fist. The veins on my hand had flattened back to normal, skin its regular color, though still pale from blood loss. Ninth brother's awake, Sheng Tianwu shouted, face pressed so close to the pool I could see his nose hairs. Back up, I said. My voice was sandpaper rough. He pulled back a little, but kept staring. How do you feel? Thirsty. Uncle Zhong handed me a cup of water. My hand shook so badly I spilled half of it. I drank a mouthful and poured the rest on my face. The coolness cleared my head a little. How long was I in there? 10 hours, Uncle Zhong said. I nodded and tried to stand, pushing against the pool wall. My legs were like noodles. My knee buckled, and I almost fell back in. Sheng Tianwu reached out to help, but I pushed his hand away and pulled myself up on my own, inch by inch. The liquid ran off my body like melted silver. Uncle Zhong handed me a clean robe. I put it on and tied the belt. I turned and looked at the crowd. The emperor sat on a stone chair, watching me with golden slit pupils full of pride and satisfaction. Sheng Tian stood behind him, smile perfectly in place. Sheng Tianjiao stood at the back with his head down, expression hidden. Imperial Consort Hua stood at the edge, eyes red. I looked at her and smiled. Mother, I'm fine. She nodded, lips moving but no words coming out. The emperor walked up and clapped my shoulder. Well done. It was all right, I said. The ancestral ground trial is today. Can you participate? I rolled my shoulders. Bones cracked twice. Yes, you're sure? You just came out of the refining heart pool. Your body hasn't fully recovered. The trial isn't a game, I'm sure. He stared at me for 3 seconds, then nodded. Fine, let's go. He told everyone to prepare and meet at the ancestral ground entrance in 1 hour. The crowd started leaving. Sheng Tianwu was first to reach me, slapping my shoulder like a hammer. Ninth brother, you sure you can handle it? Don't push yourself. I stumbled forward a step from the hit, steadied myself, and turned to look at him. Sixth brother, that slap was harder than Xue Li's punch. He grinned. Guess that makes me stronger than Xue Li. Sheng Tianyan drifted by from the side. You couldn't beat Xue Li. His grin froze. Third brother, do you have to do that? I'm stating facts. He went red, opened his mouth to argue, then realized he truly couldn't beat Xue Li. 9 levels below, no chance. He huffed and shut up. Sheng Tianxin passed by me and stopped. Your face looks terrible. I touched my cheek. Really? Frighteningly white. Good. Saves me the powder. Something flickered in her cold eyes. Then she walked off. Sheng Tianjiao brought up the rear, head down, walking so fast he was nearly running. When he passed me, he sped up even more. I watched his back. Why's eighth brother walking so fast today? I said. Sheng Tianwu scratched his head. Probably rushing to prepare for the trial. Probably. Sheng Tian's came from the other side with his warm smile. Ninth brother, is your body really okay? Fine. Good. A light pat on my shoulder. Big brother's counting on you for the ancestral ground trial. Thanks, big brother. He nodded and left. I watched his back for 2 seconds. I asked Uncle Zhong if he knew what the trial involved. He shook his head. Only royals could enter, and those who'd been inside never told outsiders. They only reported to the Star Lord. Imperial Consort Hua walked over from the edge of the crowd and stood in front of me, looking up. "You honor, mother, you just came out of the pool. Your body isn't recovered." Her voice was very soft. "In the trial, don't force it. Get as far as you can. If you can't go further, come out. There's no shame in that." I looked down at Imperial Consort Hua. "I know." She reached up and straightened my collar. Her fingers were cool and trembling slightly. "You always say that, but you never listen." I didn't argue. She stepped back. "Go." I nodded and started walking. Then I stopped. "Mother, do you have any more osmanthus cake?" She blinked, then smiled, eyes curving into crescent moons. "Yes, I'll have some waiting when you get back." Good. The ancestral ground was even deeper than the refining heart pool. I followed the emperor down a long underground corridor lined with carvings of the ancestors' conquests. At the end stood a door, at least 20 meters tall, 10 meters wide, made of some unknown black material. A giant sun was carved on it with a closed eye in the center. The fourth elder pressed his hand against the eye. Golden light poured in, and the eye opened, a vertical golden pupil, like a dragon's. It scanned everyone in the group, left to right, right to left. When it reached me, it paused for a moment. Then the door opened. Behind it was a massive circular plaza, at least 500 meters across, with polished black stone floors covered in glowing runes. And in the center stood a tower, black, at least 100 meters tall, tapering as it rose, with 9 levels of flying eaves hung with bronze bells that chimed in the wind. 9 levels. The ancestral trial tower. The plaza was packed with over 10,000 people, royals, officials, family heads, and their heirs. When I walked in, every pair of eyes turned toward me. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "The 9th prince is here. He just fought a death duel yesterday, and he's already here. I heard he was badly hurt, spent the whole night in the refining heart pool. Is he okay now?" I walked through the voices without reacting, pace steady. Sheng Tianwu was first to come over. "9th brother, you're still white as a ghost." "I'm fine." "You sure?" "Nobody can help you once you're inside the tower." "6th brother, is your way of showing concern just asking, 'Are you okay?' over and over?" He blinked, then grinned. "I'm bad with words. Don't know what else to say, then don't say anything." Sheng Tianyun floated over with a comment. "6th brother, your silence would be the greatest." Help to 9th brother. Sheng Tianwu went red again. "3rd brother, why do you keep doing this today? Facts are facts." Sheng Tians turned around with his unchanging warm smile. "Enough, all of you. The trial is about to start. Is everyone ready?" Everyone confirmed, except Sheng Tianjiao, who stood at the back and squeezed out the most forced smile I'd ever seen. It looked like paper glued to his face. On the other side of the plaza, the noble family's heirs stood in rows. Ouyang Qing was in the front row in a yellow dress, hair curled, makeup done with extra care. Her eyes were scanning until she found me. "He's here, he's here, he's here." She grabbed her cousin Ouyang Shue's arm and shook it wildly. Ouyang Zi stood nearby, watching me too, but not with infatuation. She was analyzing me, head to toe. She thought I was too calm. Anyone else would be bedridden after yesterday. I stood there like nothing had happened. She was certain I had a big secret, but she wasn't going to tell anyone. Some secrets were worth more when fewer people knew. The emperor climbed onto a high platform in ceremonial gold robes and a crown set with 12 glowing crystals. "The ancestral trial opens once every 100 years, he announced. 9 levels, each with a test left by the ancestor. Pass the test, receive the reward." He paused. "Begin." He explained that all the princes and princesses would enter together, but inside, each person was on their own. The tower's interior space was separate for everyone. You couldn't see others, and they couldn't see you. How far you got was entirely up to you. Sheng Tianwu swung his axe onto his shoulder and grinned. "I'll go first then." At the door he turned back. "9th brother, don't push yourself. You look like a ghost. Just find a corner and rest. Don't force it." He laughed and stepped through. A flash of gold, and he was gone. The others followed one by one. As I passed the emperor, he stopped me. "You just came out of the refining heart pool. Your body isn't fully recovered. Know your limits in there." "I know." I walked to the tower door, pressed my hand on the frame. The runes lit up, golden light wrapped around me, and I stepped through. A flash. Everything changed. I was standing in a room, about 20 meters across, black stone walls covered in runes, floor polished like a mirror. In the center stood a figure. Not quite a person, a semi-transparent phantom made of light. At least 2 meters tall, wearing golden battle armor, long hair tied back, a giant sword planted tip down on the floor. It looked exactly like the ancestor. "Newcomer," the phantom said, voice deep as a bell. "First trial." It raised its hand and pointed at me. A beam of golden light shot from its fingertip, not at me, but at the floor beneath my feet. The runes under me began spreading outward in circles, like ripples in water. Golden light rose from the symbols and climbed up my body. Ankles, calves, knees, thighs, waist, chest, neck. Golden threads slipped under my skin and swam through my blood vessels like tiny golden snakes. Then I heard it from inside my body. A hum, like a bowstring plucked, like a bell ringing in my chest. Bloodline resonance. The golden light was checking whether the blood in my veins truly belonged to Holy Light Star. After the blood swap, I carried Sheng Yuan's blood, the ancestor's bloodline. This was the verification. I stood perfectly still, face calm, and listened. 1 hum, 2 hums, 3 hums. The golden light faded. It retreated back down my body the same way it had climbed, from neck to chest to waist to legs to feet, like a tide pulling back. The last trace of gold vanished from my fingertips. The phantom spoke. "Bloodline pure, not past. Bloodline pure." That meant I wasn't scraping by. My blood genuinely belonged here. My mouth twitched slightly. Imperial consort Hua hadn't lied. After the blood swap, I truly carried Sheng Yuan's blood. Not a disguise. The real thing. First trial, passed. The phantom in front of me dissolved into golden specks drifting down like snow. A door cracked open in the wall, leading to stairs going up. The walls along the stairway had words carved into them. Sloppy handwriting, like someone had scratched them with a sword tip. Every stroke dripped with impatience. Left by Sheng Wudi. If you've reached this level, it means you carry the blood of my holy light lineage. But blood alone isn't enough. Holy Light Star doesn't need trash. Second level, 10 opponents at your level. Kill them, or get out. I stared at the words for 3 seconds. Quite the temper, I said. The room at the top was about the same size as before, 20 meters across, black stone everywhere, light seeping from the walls like sweat. 10 stone figures stood in the center. Black armor, black swords, black featureless masks with 2 empty holes where eyes should be. They stood perfectly still like posts hammered into the ground. When I walked in, all 10 pairs of empty eyes turned toward me at once. All level 110, same as me. So the test is 1 against 10? Nobody answered. If I went all out, I could clear this in about 3 seconds. But that wouldn't match Sheng Yuan's abilities. I needed to drag it out a bit, put on a show. The 10 stone figures moved together. Black armor gleaming, black swords shrieking through the air. The first sword stabbed my chest. 100 million divine attack damage. My reflection passive bounced the same amount right back. I looked down, a white dot on my robe that I wiped away with 1 finger. Second sword hit my shoulder. Same damage, same reflection. Then they just kept hacking at me, one after another, clang, 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 like a blacksmith's workshop. I stood in the middle of all 10 and let them swing. Didn't dodge, didn't block, didn't fight back. After about 15 seconds, my health bar hadn't budged at all. Even without my percentage recovery passive, my blood volume was enough for them to hack at me for years. But the stone figures, every time they hit me, the reflected damage blew holes in their own bodies. Chest, shoulder, arm. Black stone fragments burst from the wounds like someone was chiseling them apart. The front figure had 3 holes in its chest already. It looked down at itself, then back at me. If a stone statue could look confused, this one did. Done yet? I asked. It raised its sword and swung again. Another hole in its own chest. Stubborn little guy, I said. I raised my right fist and punched it in the head. Its skull shattered, mask splitting in 2, revealing the hollow, empty cavity inside. 1 more punch to the chest, and the whole thing exploded into rubble. 1 down. The other 9 froze for a moment, almost like they were thinking. I didn't give them time. 1 punch each. Stone rubble covered the floor in 30 seconds. 9 down. I turned around. The last one was in the corner. Its left leg was gone below the knee, blown off by reflected damage. It leaned against the wall, propping itself up with its black sword, refusing to fall. That fighting spirit, I said, deserves some praise. I didn't finish it off right away. This was my chance to kill time. The trial had 9 levels, and everyone else would be struggling their way up. If I blazed through instantly, it would be impossible to explain. 9 days to gain 10 levels. 1 day to master blood explosion art's second layer. Already absurd enough. Clearing the trial tower in the blink of an eye would push it over the edge. So I needed to slow down. I sat cross-legged on the floor like an old man settling in for a chat. "What's your name?" I asked the stone figure. No answer. "Right, you can't talk. I'll name you then." I tilted my head. "How about tough guy? Legs broken, and you're still standing." "That's tough." No response. I pulled out a piece of osmanthus cake from my soul storage. Imperial Consort Hua's recipe. Took a bite. "Sweet. Want one?" I held it up toward the statue. "Nothing." "Oh, forgot. You can't eat." "Too bad. These are really good." I chewed and swallowed. You think when the ancestor built this tower, he ever imagined a level 110 kid sitting here, chatting with a stone statue? Definitely not. You can tell from his handwriting, bad temper, no patience. Every word looks like he was stabbing someone. A guy like that builds a trial tower expecting people to hack their way up, not sit around talking. I laughed at my own joke. Then I leaned against the wall and lowered my voice. "Tough guy, let me tell you a secret." The statue stood in the corner, propped on its sword. "I'm not Sheng Yuan." I said it very quietly, like wind through a crack. "I'm Su Lin. The Su Lin your holy light star chased and tried to kill 2 years ago. The one who died and came back." The statue didn't move. "Not surprised?" "Oh right, you're a rock. You can't be surprised." I smiled again. I swapped blood. I've got Sheng Yuan's blood flowing through me now. "So what do you think the ancestor would do if he found out an outsider was in his trial tower and passed his bloodline test?" No answer. "Probably fly back from wherever he ascended to and slap me to death." I stood up, rolled my shoulders until the bones cracked, and walked over to the statue. "You're the toughest rock I've ever met," I said. I patted its shoulder. "Time to send you off." I pulled out the last piece of osmanthus cake, took a bite, and chewed. "Thanks for listening to me all this time. Nobody's talked to you in tens of thousands of years, right? 10 minutes of conversation today. That should give you something to think about for a while." I finished the cake, dusted off my hands, and punched it in the chest. It exploded. Black fragments scattered everywhere, mixing with the rubble of the other 9 until you couldn't tell which was which. I stood in the middle of the debris and brushed the dust off my hands. I looked down at the pieces. "Tough guy, next life, don't be a rock. Be a person, the kind that can talk." A door cracked open in the wall. More stairs going up. I walked in. The walls had more of the ancestors' sloppy sword-carved handwriting. Left by Sheng Wudi. The third level's instructions were carved on the stairway wall in the same sloppy sword-scratched handwriting. 20 opponents at your level. Double the number, more than double the difficulty. Kill them all, or get out. I looked at the last line. Get out then. No need to be rude about it. The room was 3 times bigger than before, 60 meters across. 20 stone figures stood in formation. Same black armor, same black swords, same blank masks. But their positioning was different. 3 in front in a triangle, 6 in a ring in the middle, 11 spread evenly in the back, like someone measured the spacing with a ruler. So these ones know teamwork. Not bad. Worth some credit. 20 empty eyes turned toward me at once. Meanwhile, outside on the plaza, the tower's levels were lighting up. The display showed that I'd reached the 3rd floor at the same time as Sheng Tian's. He was level 118 in perfect condition, and I was level 110, freshly injured. Everyone else was still on the 2nd floor. The crowd lost it. Ouyang Qing was shaking her cousin's arm, so hard the poor girl nearly threw up. Ouyang Zi stood nearby, silently calculating. If I could match the crown prince's pace while recovering from yesterday's injuries, I was far stronger than anyone realized. On the high platform, the emperor asked the 4th elder how far he thought I could go. Elder Sheng Tianji paused, then said, "The 9th prince will definitely pass the 9th level." The plaza went silent, then exploded. Millions of years and nobody had cleared the 9th floor, and the 4th elder was saying I would? The emperor asked why. The 4th elder stepped forward and laid it all out. 9 days from level 100 to 110. 1 day to master blood explosion art's 2nd layer. Enduring the refining heart pool in complete silence. Clearing 2 trial levels in 15 minutes. Any one of these was genius. 2 was monstrous. 3 or more, that was destiny. He said he didn't believe in fate, but my performance had gone beyond what talent could explain. Some people were born to do certain things. The ancestor was born to unify Holy Light Star, and I was born to lead it back to that same glory. That was why I'd passed the 9th level. The Emperor stared at him for a long time, then smiled faintly. You barely ever talk. But when you do, it's terrifying. Inside the tower, the 20 stone figures attacked. They moved like a trained army, front 3 first, middle 6 following, back 11 holding position and filling gaps. Swords came from 3 directions at once. I didn't dodge. 3 swords hit me simultaneously. 100 million damage each. My reflection passive bounced it all back, blowing holes in their chests. But they didn't stop. The next 6 were already on me. 2 swords to my back, 2 to each side. I stood in the center getting hacked by a dozen swords. Not a scratch on me. But every swing they took, the reflected damage blew chunks off their own bodies. How many years have you guys practiced this formation? I asked. No answer. Just more swords. The front 3 were falling apart. The lead one had 5 holes in its chest, 1 arm gone, 1 leg busted. Still swinging a broken sword at me. Buddy, you're in pieces and still swinging? What did the ancestor promise you to work this hard? No response. Another sword hit my shoulder. Another hole blew open in its own chest. Fine. Another batch of stubborn ones. The ancestor was probably stubborn too. Your dedication, I said. Back where I come from, you'd win Employee of the Year. Nobody cared. Swords kept coming. All right, playtime's over. I started punching. 1 hit, 1 kill. Left, right, front, back. Their coordination was actually solid. Front row drew attention. Middle ring sealed escape routes. Back row rotated in. But none of it mattered when every single one went down in 1 punch. 1 minute. 19 stone figures reduced to rubble. Like whack-a-mole, the last one stood in the corner. Both legs gone below the knee from reflected damage, leaning against the wall, propping itself up with its sword. Perfect for time wasting. I sat down cross-legged in front of it. Just you left, brother. No answer. I'll call you tough guy number 2. I told it the truth. I was keeping it alive to waste time. If I cleared every floor too fast, it would be suspicious. I was already absurdly abnormal. No need to add instant trial tower clear to the list. So I sat there and talked at tough guy number 2 for 20 minutes. Just me rambling at a 1-legged stone statue in a dark room. Finally, I stood up. Sorry, brother. You know too much. 1 punch. Send it to join the others. I used the same approach for levels 2 through 7. Let them hit me, watch the reflected damage tear them apart, kill all but 1, then sit down and chat with the last survivor to waste time. I called each one a variation of tough guy and rambled at them about life until enough time had passed to look believable. Then 1 punch and move on. Outside on the plaza, the crowd was going crazy watching the tower light up level by level. Ouyang Qing was practically strangling her cousin's arm every time a new floor lit up. Ouyang Zi was silently calculating my pace. I'd matched Sheng Tian's through the first 4 levels despite being 8 levels lower and freshly injured. As the day went on, everyone else came out. 3 princes made it to the 5th floor and failed. 4 made it to the 6th. Sheng Tian's reached the 7th, 320 stone figures at his level, and had to quit after killing about 100. Even he couldn't take the accumulated damage from that many. Sheng Tianjiao only made it to the 5th, 40 figures at his level, and he went down after killing 30. He stood at the back of the crowd, pale as paper, not saying a word. Only my light was still on. And now it was on the 8th floor. The 8th floor. In millions of years, nobody had ever reached it. On the plaza, everyone stared. The 4th elder had predicted I'd clear the 9th floor. Now I was 1 level away from proving him right, or wrong. Sheng Tian stood watching the tower, warm smile still on. He'd been eliminated at the 7th floor. If I passed the 8th and entered the 9th, the air position would truly be gone forever. His nails dug into his palms behind his back. The emperor had been sitting on his throne all day without moving. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. Inside the tower, I pushed open the 8th floor's door. No stone figures. No enemies. Just an enormous round room, so wide I couldn't see the far wall. Black stone floor with no runes, pure black that seemed to swallow light. In the center stood the ancestor's phantom again. But this time it wasn't translucent. It looked solid, like a real person. Golden battle armor, long hair tied back, giant sword planted in the ground, golden vertical pupils staring straight at me. Newcomer, it said. You passed the first 7 levels. Your strength is sufficient. But strength alone isn't enough. To go further, you need willpower. The 8th level tests your will. Willpower isn't about how much injury you can take. It's about how long you can endure the pain. It's whether you can take one more step when you're on the edge of breaking. It's whether you can tell yourself, hold on a little longer when you want to give up. Its finger pointed at me. A beam of golden light shot into my forehead. It felt like someone poured ice water into my brain. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a completely different place. A staircase. White stone, very wide. Room for 100 people side by side. Each step was tall, requiring a big stride to climb. The stairs stretched upward into nothing. I stood on the first step. A voice boomed from above, deep and heavy like thunder. 99 steps. Each step you climb, the pain doubles. Reach the top and you pass. Can't make it, get out. Remember, here, you cannot use any skills. You cannot use divine power. You cannot resist. You can only endure. I looked at my hands. Nothing. I tried to activate my divine power. Nothing. Tried opening my panel. Nothing. No abilities, no skills, no equipment, no clones. I even tried shifting my consciousness to another body. My soul was locked inside this one. All right. This time it's just willpower. I took the first step onto the second stair. The pain hit my soul like being thrown into a giant grinding stone. Crushed from head to toe, skin to bone to marrow. My teeth clenched. My whole body was shaking. No wounds, no blood, but the pain was real. I wanted to scream, wanted to drop to my knees. I didn't kneel. I stood. I took the next step. The pain doubled. Third step. Fourth. Fifth. Each one, the pain doubled again. By the 10th step, I'd forgotten what not hurting felt like. My brain held only one word: pain. My consciousness started blurring. I didn't know where I was. Didn't know why I was here. Didn't know what I was doing. I only remembered one thing. Walk up. 11th step. 12th. 13th. 14th. 15th. My legs shook, knees knocked, teeth grinding. Sweat didn't drip. It poured off me like someone was dumping buckets on my head. Clothes soaked through, sticking to my skin. I didn't stop. 20th step. My vision went foggy. My brain was shutting down. Everything looked like it was behind a layer of mist, every sound behind a wall. I felt like I was underwater, everything half a beat slow. I kept walking. 25. 30. 35. My blood vessels started bursting. I could feel the walls tearing, blood seeping into muscle tissue, swelling painfully. Red dots appeared on my skin, tiny spots of internal bleeding. More and more, denser and denser. By the 40th step, both arms were covered in red. I didn't stop. My will was like a cold, ruthless program. Just walk. Keep walking. 45. 50. My knees finally gave out. I dropped. Kneecaps smashed against stone. I knelt on the 50th step, gasping, sweat pooling beneath my chin. One thought in my head: stand up. I dug my fingers into the stone cracks. Fingernails broke. Blood seeped out. I bit down and pulled myself up inch by inch. 51. 52. 53. My consciousness started fracturing. Like a mirror someone smashed, pieces still hanging in the frame, but impossible to put back together. Sometimes I forgot who I was. Sometimes I forgot why I was climbing. Sometimes I forgot what climbing even meant. But my legs kept moving. 60th step. Blood started flowing from all 7 openings. Eyes, ears, nose, mouth. Dark red, thick, running down my face onto my clothes and the stairs. I looked like I'd been pulled from a pool of blood. 65. 70. My body went into full convulsion. Every muscle seized at once, curling me up like a boiled shrimp. I didn't stop. I shuffled forward, hunched over, step by step. 75. 80. My consciousness shattered completely. I didn't know who I was, where I was, what I was doing. But my legs still moved. Like a reflex. 85. 90. 95. I collapsed. Not kneeling, flat on my face, cheek pressed against stone, blood running down. My body had stopped obeying me. But I didn't give up. Pure willpower drove me forward. I crawled with my chin, my chest, my stomach. Like a worm, inching along. My chin scraped open on the stone. Blood seeped out. 96. 97. 98. My body was at its absolute limit. Most blood vessels burst, muscles torn, bones cracked. Heartbeat slowing. breathing weakening, temperature dropping. I was dying. But my cells kept sending one signal. Crawl. Every last scrap of usable strength pushed me forward. 99. I made it. Face pressed against the stone of the 99th step, blood dripping down to the step below. A voice echoed in my mind. 8th level. Passed. My consciousness cut out completely. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the floor of the 8th level room. Black stone, dark ceiling, gray-white light seeping from the walls. I lay there, hurting everywhere. Slowly pushed myself up and looked at my hands. No blood. No wounds. Nothing. Same as before I entered. I touched my face. No blood there either. I laughed. So that was an illusion. The ancestors' phantom still stood in the center of the room. Yes and no. The pain was fake. But the willpower you showed getting through it, that was real. It continued. The first 7 levels tested your strength. The 8th tested your will. Strength without will won't carry you far. Will without strength won't carry you at all. You have both. So you've earned the right to enter the 9th level. I pushed myself to my feet. Legs still shaking, but I stood. What's on the 9th level? The phantom looked at me for 3 seconds. You'll find out when you get there. A door cracked open in the wall. No more stairs this time, just light. Bright, golden, blinding. I squinted and walked through. In an instant, I was standing in the 9th level's room. Outside on the plaza, dead silence. The 8th level light went dark. The 9th level light came on. Ouyang Qing's legs gave out. She collapsed sideways into her cousin, and they nearly fell together. 9th. The 9th prince. 9th level. Her voice came out dry and cracked. Ouyang Zi stood frozen, knuckles white around her handkerchief. If I passed, whoever became my consort would stand beside the future ruler of all second-tier planets. Sheng Tianwu's battle axe slipped from his hands and clanged on the stone. He just stood there, mouth open. Sheng Tianyun gripped his thin sword, fingers trembling, not from fear, from shock. He'd been kicked out at the 6th level after killing 42 of 60 opponents. He knew what that helplessness felt like. And I, level 110, barely recovered, had reached the 9th floor. Sheng Tianjiao stood at the very back, staring at the 9th level light. His brain buzzed. He'd been eliminated at the 5th level and thought that was decent for level 100. Now he couldn't feel anything but jealousy. Burning, consuming jealousy. He closed his eyes and clenched his fists. Someday, if someday came. Sheng Tian stood at the front, back to everyone, warm smile still on. But the light in his eyes was gone. He'd topped out at the 7th level and thought I'd do the same at best. If I cleared the 9th floor and claimed the ancestors' ultimate reward, I'd become the next Star Lord. His crown prince title would mean absolutely nothing. His fate was in someone else's hands, and the feeling was unbearable. On the high platform, the emperor sat with his hands on the armrests. His fingers were trembling. He'd lived tens of thousands of years, seen countless storms. Nothing had ever made his hands shake. Until now, his son had entered the 9th level. Can he really do it? The moment I stepped into the 9th level, my feet landed on clouds. White, soft, like cotton. This floor was nothing like the others. No walls, no ceiling, no boundaries. The sky was gold, the ground was white cloud. In the distance stood a golden mountain with a small, elegant palace on top, bronze bells chiming in the wind. Nice place, I said. Way better than those black rooms. You like it? A voice from behind me. I turned around. The ancestor stood there, not a phantom this time. Golden armor, long hair, giant sword planted in the clouds. Golden vertical pupils watching me with a faint smile. Are you real or a projection? I asked. Does it matter? It does. If you're real, I should bow. If you're a projection, I'll skip it. He blinked, then laughed. You're just like I was. No respect for anyone. He pulled his sword from the clouds and slammed the pommel down. The clouds trembled and the distant bells rang louder. 9th level, he said. Millions of years, nobody's made it here. You're the first. The first 8 levels tested strength and willpower. Those can be trained. The 9th tests something different. What? Talent. He stepped closer, towering over me by a full head. Do you know the Holy Light art? I nodded. Saint-level technique. Holy Light Star's greatest treasure. Do you know what level it was originally? My brow twitched. God level, he said. My expression shifted. He explained. The Holy Light art was originally a God-level technique that only someone with God-tier talent could cultivate. Before he ascended, he left it on Holy Light Star. But he discovered a problem. None of his descendants had God-tier talent. They couldn't practice it. So he simplified it, stripped out everything that required God-tier talent. What remained was a castrated version, downgraded from God level to saint level, accessible to anyone regardless of talent. But the cost was a hard ceiling at level 199. No one on Holy Light Star could ever break through to 200. Everyone believed the Holy Light art was always saint level. Nobody knew the truth, that saint level could only reach 199, and only the God level version with God tier talent could reach 200 and qualify for ascension. You are the first God tier talent on Holy Light Star in millions of years, he said. You have the right to cultivate the true Holy Light art. The God level version. My heart sped up, but I kept my face blank. So what's the 9th level's test? He held out his palm. Golden light surged from it and solidified into a book, 3 times thicker than the regular Holy Light art. The cover was gold, not black, with a single glowing character. God, this is the real Holy Light art, he said, handing it to me. The moment I took it, warmth flowed from the cover through my fingers, up my arm, and into my heart. I heard a sound from inside the book, faint and deep, like a distant bell. The test is simple, the ancestor said. 12 hours to reach the introductory level of this God-level technique. Succeed and you pass. The ultimate reward is this technique itself. Fail and get out. Once you leave, you'll forget everything you saw on the 9th level. I looked at the book. 12 hours. I had 999 clones. And this was a God-level technique matching my God-tier talent. I wasn't worried. I opened it. The first page was packed with glowing golden text written in sharp, sword-like strokes. The ancestors' handwriting, same as the walls below. God-level Holy Light art. Bloodline as the guide. Talent as the medium. Divine power as the fuel. I understood every word separately. Together, they made no sense. I read it again. Still didn't get it. The conditions I met. I had the ancestors' bloodline from the blood swap, God-tier talent, and divine power at level 110. But how to actually use them as guide, medium, and fuel? The book explained it, but I couldn't decipher the instructions. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and sent the command to all 999 clones. Cultivate the God-level Holy Light art. 999 people opened the same book in their minds simultaneously. Each one got stuck at a different point. Some couldn't figure out the guide. Some couldn't grasp the medium. Some couldn't activate the fuel. But as soon as one clone cracked a piece, I synced the insight to everyone. Every second brought new understanding and eliminated old mistakes. 999 brains working like a precision machine, every gear interlocking. Half an hour later, the first clone completed a full minor circulation cycle. I opened my eyes and looked at my hand. In my palm sat a ball of golden light, bright as a tiny sun. It wasn't coming from outside. It was pouring out from inside me, from between my bones, from my blood vessels, from every cell. God-level Holy Light art. Introductory level achieved. I looked up. I'm done. The ancestor had been gazing at the distant palace. He turned around. Shock, pride, and something unreadable in his golden eyes. How long? Half an hour. He went silent for a long time. So long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he smiled. Light and faint, like a stone finally landing after falling for millions of years. Half an hour. It took me 11 hours. He stepped forward. You're stronger than I was. He placed his hand on top of my head. Don't move. Golden light poured from his palm into my skull and flowed downward. Neck, shoulders, chest, stomach, legs, feet. Everywhere it passed, my meridians burned and were reforged. Like blacksmithing, heating raw iron, hammering it on an anvil, heating again, hammering again, beating out impurities, shaping the metal, forging the edge. It hurt. The forging lasted about 100 breaths. Then the light faded. He pulled his hand back. I looked at my hands. Something new was flowing through my blood, like oil mixed with fire, like water mixed with light. I opened my panel. God-level Holy Light art. Introductory level achieved. Effect. Can cultivate to level 200. Done? I asked. Done. 9th level passed? Passed. The reward is the God-level technique. I paused. That's it. That's it, he nodded. What did you expect? Divine weapons? Artifacts? Those things you can't take with you when you're born and can't bring when you die. The real reward is this technique. The path past level 200. The qualification to ascend. These are worth more than any weapon. I thought about it. He was right. Weapons couldn't help me level up, and leveling was what mattered most. Fine. I'll be going then. He turned toward the distant palace, silent for a long time. What's your name? Sheng Yuan. You're not from Holy Light Star. My heart skipped a beat. But my face showed nothing. What do you mean? Your body carries my bloodline, he said, voice deep. But your soul does not. I said nothing. He stepped forward. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you came from. I don't know how you got into Holy Light Star. He paused. But I know one thing. You have God-tier talent. You can make Holy Light Star great again. I looked at him. You're not going to kill me. Kill you? He laughed. Do you know what I just did to your body? The ancestor released a wave of divine power that hit me. I felt something new inside my body, like a needle lodged in the deepest part of my heart. Not painful, but I knew it was there. What did you put in me? I asked. He looked at me like he was examining a tool, checking if it was sturdy enough. A curse. What kind? Within 100 years, make Holy Light Star ascend to a third-tier planet. Fail, and your entire body rots and you die. I looked at him. Why do you think I can do it? Because you did what I couldn't. Half an hour to master the God-level Holy Light art. I took 11 hours. Your talent is greater than mine. I went from a small second-tier planet to the #1 rank. You can take Holy Light Star to the 3rd tier. I asked if he hadn't done it himself. He said he never had the courage to challenge. 3rd-tier planets had geniuses starting at level 200, with creation-grade equipment, 1 rank above immortal grade. His abilities weren't rule-breaking, so he knew he couldn't win. He chose to ascend on his own instead of fighting. The curse was his way of making sure I'd do what he couldn't. If I didn't fight, the curse would kill me in 100 years. Honestly, I wasn't worried. I had 999 clones. If this body died, it wouldn't affect me at all, but I couldn't let him see that, so I played along. I'll do everything I can to make Holy Light Star reach 3rd tier within 100 years. I asked if the curse could be removed. He said yes, complete the task, and it lifts automatically. No other way. Fine, I said, and walked toward the door. Golden light flashed, and I was out. Outside on the plaza, the 9th level light had gone dark. Over 10,000 people held their breath, staring at the tower. 2 possibilities, I'd passed, or I'd failed. Ouyang Qin's voice cracked. The light went out. Ouyang Zi stood frozen, calculating. The answer was 1 second away. Sheng Tianwu jumped to his feet, eyes locked on the tower door. Sheng Tianjiao took 1 step forward from the back of the crowd, then stopped. He wanted to see clearly, but he was afraid to see clearly. Sheng Tian stood at the front, warm smile still on, but his eyes were like dry wells. He was waiting for the result that would decide his fate. The emperor shot up from his chair so fast it scraped backward and hit the steps. Elder Sheng Xian's palms were sweating for the first time in nearly 8,000 years. Imperial consort Hua pushed through the crowd to the front, eyes fixed on the tower door. The door lit up. Golden light poured from the cracks like a flood, so bright everyone shut their eyes. When they opened them, I was standing in the doorway. Dark gold robe, hair tied up, face calm. Still a little pale. I scanned the plaza. 10,000 faces, shocked, excited, jealous. I walked to the center and faced the emperor on his platform. Father, did you pass? I paused for 1 second. I passed, dead silence. Then the plaza exploded. The 9th level. He passed the 9th level. Millions of years and nobody could do it. The ancestor's ultimate reward. He got it. Sheng Tianwu sprinted over so fast his shoes nearly flew off. He slapped my shoulder hard enough to knock me back a step. 9th brother. You really passed? Really? The 9th level. Really? He stared at me for 3 seconds. Then he laughed so hard tears came out. 1 word. Damn. Sheng Tianyan walked up silently and patted my shoulder. Light touch. Sheng Tianxin stood in the crowd staring at me, something churning behind those cold eyes. Relief, or maybe frustration. She turned and left without a word. Sheng Tianjiao stood at the very back, bloodshot eyes locked on me. His fingernails clawed white marks into a pillar. He wanted to speak, but his throat was locked. He wanted to leave, but his legs wouldn't move. He stood there like an abandoned statue. Sheng Tian stood at the front. Warm smile still on. But behind it, everything was over. From this moment, his crown prince title was meaningless. He closed his eyes, took a breath, opened them, and adjusted his smile. Warmer, more polished, more flawless than before. He walked up to me. Ninth brother. A pat on my shoulder. Well done. 2 words. But I heard what they really meant. You won. Thanks, big brother. The emperor walked down from his platform. Every step, his hands were visibly shaking. He stood in front of me. Got the reward? Got it. He stared at me for 3 seconds. Then he smiled. Good. He turned to face the entire plaza and spoke, voice booming like a bell. Sheng Yuan, 9th Prince of Holy Light Star, has cleared the 9th level of the ancestral trial and received the ancestor's ultimate reward. From this day forward, Sheng Yuan is Holy Light Star's Star Lord Heir. His rank, below 1, above all, silence. Then the plaza erupted again. People started kneeling. 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Everyone knelt. The 12 elders, the family heads, all the princes and princesses. Imperial consort Hua stood at the edge, the only one who didn't kneel. She was my mother. Tears rolled down her face one after another. Not from sadness. From decades of waiting finally ending. The person who would help her get her revenge was now standing in front of her as Star Lord Heir. One person below the emperor, above everyone else. Uncle Zhong knelt with his forehead pressed to the stone, shoulders trembling. Nearly 2,000 years old, and he'd never seen anything like this. Never imagined he'd live to see it. The emperor turned to me. Anything else to say? I thought about it. Yes, say it. The imperial treasury. How many items can I pick? He blinked. Then laughed. How many do you want? 3. Deal? I nodded, turned, and started walking out of the plaza. A few steps in, I stopped and looked back at Imperial Consort Hua. Mother, any osmanthus cake left? She blinked, then smiled. A smile so big tears spilled out with it. Yes, I'll have some when I get back. I walked away. Steady pace. Dark gold robe drifting in the wind. My face was calm, but everyone saw the slight smile at the corner of my mouth. Not smugness, just the quiet relief of someone who could finally rest for a bit. The crowd began to disperse. Ouyang Qing was still on her knees, mouth hanging open, staring at where I'd disappeared. He's the Star Lord Heir now. Ouyang Zi watched too, mind spinning. Star Lord Heir. Whoever became his consort would be the future Star Lord's wife. Her fingers slowly clenched. Sheng Tianjiao got up stiffly and walked away without looking at anyone. He glanced back once at the dark tower, its runes still pulsing like a heartbeat. Then he turned and walked fast, like he was running. Sheng Tian stood, dusted off his knees, straightened his collar. Warm smile still on. He bowed to the emperor, asked to be excused, and walked away. But everyone saw his back, hunched, like he'd aged 10 years. The emperor watched him go. Elder Sheng Xian approached and started to say something about the crown prince, but the emperor cut him off. I know, but he'll come around. Then everyone left. I walked out of the plaza as the sky was turning dark. Stars blinked on one by one overhead. Uncle Zhong, can I go to the imperial treasury now? He was surprised. Your Highness, you just came out of the refining heart pool, then spent all day in the tower. Don't you want to rest? Not tired. He opened his mouth, closed it, then lowered his head. Nearly 2,000 years old, served countless masters, and he'd never met anyone like me. Beaten half to death yesterday, soaked in the pool all night, fought through 9 tower levels today, 48 hours more eventful than his entire year. And I said, not tired. He started to mention needing the Star Lord's seal of permission, then caught himself. I was the Star Lord Heir now. I was the permission. The Imperial Treasury was in the western part of the palace, a standalone building, not large, but built like a fortress. Black stone walls thick enough to ride horses on. Iron door, 5 meters tall. 2 level 180 guards stood outside. They bowed when they saw me, confirmed they'd received word, and opened the door. Inside was a long golden corridor lit by smokeless bronze lamps. Then another door marked with the character 4, vault. I pushed through into a space so massive I couldn't see the far wall. The ceiling was high enough to fit a mountain inside. Every wall was covered in shelves and compartments, some big enough for an ox, some barely fist-sized. Each one had a floating display showing what was stored inside. This is going to take a while, I muttered. I started browsing. First shelf, purple-grade weapon, break army spear. Passed. I didn't need a spear. Second, purple-grade armor, black tortoise plate. Passed. Third, purple-grade pills, Divine power pills, 10,000 of them. I stopped. 10,000. That was exactly what I needed. I reached for the display and read the details. Each pill gave 10 divine power points. Limit 3 per day per person. Extras had no effect. I pulled my hand back. Let me look around more first. The real problem hit me as I walked. At level 110, each level up required 100,000 divine power points. Purple grade divine power pills gave only 10 points each. Even 10,000 pills would only be 100,000 points, barely one level. I needed higher grade pills or a lot more of them. 2 options. First, wait for monthly allowances. As Star-Lord Heir, I'd get a bigger share, but it wouldn't keep up with my cultivation speed. Second, make my own pills. Alchemy. I had a beginner's alchemy manual sitting in my soul storage. Level 1 alchemy introduction. I'd found it in someone's ring during the last secret realm and tossed it in without thinking. Thought I'd never use it. I said to myself, looks like I'll have to rely on my own brewing. I kept walking. Past the weapons section, armor section, pill section. Took nearly 15 minutes. Then I hit the miscellaneous area. Ores, herbs, beast hides, bones, bottles and jars, random scrap. I stopped at one shelf. The display read, Alchemy Furnace, Orange Grade, 8 trigrams furnace. It could refine orange grade pills and below. Not huge, small enough to hold in 2 palms. Jet black with 8 trigrams carved into the surface and a little dragon perched on the lid with its mouth open as the vent. I checked the others. 5 orange grade furnaces, a dozen green grade, piles of yellow grade, and lower. Orange was the best they had. I grabbed the 8 trigrams furnace and put it in my soul storage. First item. Next I needed a pill recipe. The recipe wall was on the far side. Rows of floating displays. Each one a different formula. Purple grade divine power pill. 10 divine power per pill. Effective for levels 100 to 109. Blue grade divine power pill. 1,000 divine power per pill. Effective for levels 110 to 119. Green grade. 100,000 per pill. For levels 120 to 129. And so on up the scale. I was level 110. I could only use blue grade divine power pills. 1,000 divine power per pill. I'd need 100 of them just to gain 1 level. I reached for the blue grade divine power pill recipe. The display popped up with the details. It needed blue grade herbs like divine power grass, spirit gathering flowers, and spirit fusing roots. It also required a blue grade alchemy furnace and blue grade alchemy skills. Problem was, I only had a beginner's alchemy manual, gray grade, the absolute lowest. Even with the recipe, I couldn't refine anything. I took the recipe anyway and stored it. Second item done. For my third pick, I needed an alchemy technique. I walked through the miscellaneous section until I found the skill manuals. Green grade, basic fire control. Yellow grade, flame mastery. Orange grade, spirit sense fire control. I stopped at the orange grade one. Spirit sense fire control, using mental power instead of hands to control flames, with precision temperature management. The note at the bottom said the difficulty was extremely high, required spirit sense talent, and nobody in Holy Light Star's history had ever learned it. Challenge accepted. This one. The book was thin, under 20 pages. I flipped it open. Spirit sense is the power of the mind. Controlling fire means using spirit sense as your hand and flame as your tool. Strong spirit sense, strong fire. Weak spirit sense, fire dies. Training method. Nothing special. Just practice until you get it. I stared at those last words. Just practice until you get it. As annoying as comprehend it yourself. 3 items picked. Orange grade 8 trigrams furnace. Blue grade divine power pill recipe. Orange grade spirit sense fire control technique. I headed back to my quarters. Even though my body wasn't tired, my mind was drained. I fell onto the bed without even changing clothes and was asleep in 3 seconds. Best sleep I'd had since coming to Holy Light Star. The next morning I woke up naturally, lay there a while, then got to work. The priority chain was clear. Learn fire control, then learn alchemy, then make pills, then level up. I opened the book again and started with step 1, sensing spirit sense. Close your eyes, look inward, find the fog in the mud pill palace between your brows. I sank my awareness in and found it, faint, light, like a wisp of smoke. I tried to touch it. It scattered instantly. Poked it again, scattered again. falls apart at a touch. That fragile. Step 2. Condense the spirit sense. Gather the fog into a solid ball. I spent 15 minutes herding it like stubborn sheep. It finally clumped together, but one touch and it scattered again. More annoying than the blood explosion art. I sent the command to all 999 clones. Practice spirit sense fire control. 1 hour later, with everyone's insights synced, the fog in my mud pill palace had condensed into a fist-sized ball. Stable, still, not drifting. Step 1 complete. Step 2. Project spirit sense outward and use it to control fire. I pulled the fog out through my brow. Couldn't see it, but I felt it, like an invisible thread with one end attached to my forehead and the other floating in the air. I took out the 8 trigrams furnace and set it on the table. Tapped the furnace wall with 2 fingers. Fire. Golden light rose from the runes at the bottom, gentle, like candlelight. I nudged my spirit sense left. The fire leaned left. Right, it leaned right. Push down, smaller. Pull up, bigger. Obedient. Step 3. Precision temperature control. Not just making fire burn, but hitting exact temperatures. I practiced pressing and lifting over and over. My clones synced every lesson. Don't slam the fire down all at once. Add heat slowly. Maintaining is harder than reaching. 2 hours later, my temperature fluctuation was under 1%. Step 4. Split spirit sense to control multiple fires simultaneously. The furnace needed high heat at the bottom, medium at the walls, low at the lid. 3 fires, 3 temperatures, burning at the same time. This was hard. Every time I lit one zone, another went out. Like trying to draw a circle with one hand and a square with the other, they both turned into circles. My clones attacked the problem from every angle. The breakthrough insight: don't split evenly. Allocate more spirit sense to where you need more heat. And don't grip too tight. Hold it loose, like sand. Squeeze too hard, and it slips away. 1 hour later, I had 3 fires burning simultaneously. Bottom hot, walls medium, lid cool. Held it for half an hour without a flicker. Step 5. Unity of mind and fire. This wasn't technique anymore. It was a state of being. Not, I control the fire, but I am the fire. I stopped trying to manage the flames. I just watched. The fire got bigger on its own, then smaller on its own. The temperature drifted, then steadied itself. I realized the fire had its own rhythm. I didn't need to control it. I needed to move with it. When I wanted it bigger, it grew. When I wanted it smaller, it shrank. Not because I was forcing it, because I understood it. I opened my eyes. The 3 separate fires in the furnace had become one. But within that single flame, the bottom was hot. The walls were medium. The lid was cool. 3 temperatures existing together, not interfering with each other. Spirit sense fire control, all 5 steps complete. I stood up and cracked my neck. Looked at the furnace on the table. Fire still burning, perfectly steady like an old clock. Done. I stored the furnace, walked to the window. Sun was still up, hanging in the west. Uncle Zhong's voice came through the door. Your Highness, you haven't eaten all day. Would you like a meal? I rubbed my stomach. Actually, yeah. I'm kind of hungry. Uncle Zhong brought my meal and also handed me a small cloth bundle from the Emperor. Inside were 100 blue-grade divine power pills, thumb-sized, glowing with a pale blue light, much purer than the purple-grade ones. Each pill gave 1,000 divine power points, effective for levels 110 to 119. 100 pills meant 100,000 points, exactly enough to go from 110 to 111. Uncle Zhong said the Emperor wanted to see me when I had time. I sat down and ate. While chewing on a rib, I sent the command to 100 clones. Each one took a pill from the soul storage and started refining it. At my level with God-tier talent, each blue-grade pill took 12 hours to refine. 100 clones working at once meant I'd hit level 111 by tomorrow. But 100 pills a month wasn't going to keep up with my cultivation speed. I needed to make my own. I pulled out the blue-grade divine power pill recipe and studied it. 3 ingredients needed: blue-grade divine power grass, 10 stalks, blue-grade spirit gathering flowers, 5, and blue-grade spirit fusing roots, 3, plus a blue-grade furnace or higher and blue-grade alchemy skills or higher. I sent orders to 899 clones. Go find these 3 herbs. Buy them, trade for them, dig them up in the wild, whatever it takes. Get as many as possible. Then I changed into a clean robe and went to see the Emperor. His study door was half open. I knocked twice and went in. He sat behind his desk, a book open in front of him that he wasn't reading. He told me to sit. Yesterday there were too many people around. I didn't ask about the 9th level's reward in detail. I pulled out the book and set it on his desk. Golden cover, the character 4, God, glowing on it like a heartbeat. His pupils shrank. This is a God-level technique. Yes. He reached for it, fingers hovering over the cover for a long time. Then he pulled his hand back. What did the ancestor say? I leaned back. He said the holy light art was originally a God-level technique, but only someone with God-tier talent could cultivate it. Since none of his descendants had that talent, he simplified it, stripped out all the God-tier parts, and dropped it to saint level. His fingers paused. Simplified, deleted everything that required God-tier talent. What's left is a cut-down version. So the people of Holy Light Star can never break through level 200, I said. The study went quiet. The Emperor stared at me, eyes churning with shock, realization, and a bitter kind of understanding. No wonder, he said, voice heavy. No wonder the highest anyone's ever reached is 199. I've been stuck there, unable to gain a single point of divine power no matter what I do. I always thought the ancestors' parting words were encouragement. They weren't. They were a warning. He asked if I was cultivating the God-level version now. I told him I'd started yesterday. Took half an hour to reach the introductory level. His hand trembled. He'd needed days just to get started on the saint-level version. He asked if the ancestors said anything else. I told him about the 100-year deadline. Lead Holy Light Star to 3rd-tier planet status. His eyes snapped open. He pointed out that 3rd-tier planet geniuses started at level 200 with creation-grade equipment, 1 tier above immortal grade. I told him the ancestor said I was stronger than him. 11 hours versus my half hour. If the ancestor could fight his way to number 1 from a small planet, I could take Holy Light Star to the 3rd tier. He smiled faintly. That's a lot of pressure. It is. Do you think you can do it within 100 years? I thought about it. No, he blinked. No. But I'll do my best. He shook his head and told me not to take the ancestor's words too literally. If I didn't have confidence, I shouldn't force a challenge. Then he asked about the 3 items I'd taken from the treasury. I told him, alchemy furnace, pill recipe, fire control technique. He asked if I wanted to do alchemy. I said the ancestor told me I had talent for it, that my spirit sense was strong. The spirit sense fire control technique, he asked. The orange grade 1 nobody in Holy Light Star's history has ever learned. I learned it yesterday. Took a few hours. He went quiet for a long time. What did they feed you growing up? I thought about it. Osmanthus cake. He paused, then laughed. Your mother's osmanthus cake? Yeah. Bring me a couple next time. Sure. He told me to handle the alchemy however I wanted. Whatever materials I needed, ask Uncle Jean. The treasury was open to me anytime, no permission required. As I reached the door, he spoke one more time, his back to me. Within 100 years, whether or not you can take Holy Light Star to the 3rd tier, you're still my son. I looked at his back. I know. Outside, I told Uncle Jean I needed blue-grade herbs, divine power grass, spirit-gathering flowers, and spirit-fusing roots. 100 batches worth. He went to prepare them. Back in my quarters, I set up the furnace on the table. Uncle Jean returned quickly with a black wooden box divided into 3 sections. 1,000 stalks of divine power grass, with gold-veined blue-green leaves, 500 spirit-gathering flowers like pale blue ice crystals, and 300 coiled spirit-fusing roots. I asked how much this would cost on the open market. Uncle Jean said the treasury stuff was free, but at market prices, 100 purple-grade pills per stalk of grass, 200 per flower, 300 per root. 100 batches of materials came to 29,000 purple-grade divine power pills. And that didn't factor in success rate. A typical blue-grade alchemist succeeded less than 30% of the time. Beginners were lucky to get 1 success in 10 tries. 30%, I repeated. I'll give it a try. Uncle Jean wanted to say something, but held back. He'd lived nearly 2,000 years and seen countless alchemists who'd trained for decades before reaching blue grade. But he didn't argue. When I said, I'll try, people had learned by now what that meant. He stepped out. I spread the recipe on the table and read the 4 steps 3 times over. Step 1. Spirit-fusing root goes in first. Low heat, slow roasting to remove impurities. Step 2. Add divine power grass. Medium heat, extract its essence. Step 3. Add spirit-gathering flower. High heat, fast burn, fuse all 3. Step 4. Low heat to nurture until the pill forms. Spirit fusing root first. Low heat, slow roast. I stared at the recipe's 4 steps and repeated them to myself. Low heat slow roast, medium heat refine, high heat fast burn, low heat nurture. For fire levels, each requiring precise control. One slip and the whole batch fails. I laid out the first set of ingredients on the table. 10 stalks of divine power grass, 5 spirit gathering flowers, 3 spirit fusing roots. Neat little piles. Let's go. I pressed my hand on the furnace wall. Spirit scents flowed in, 3 fires lit, bottom hot, walls medium, lid cool. Stable as always. First attempt. I dropped the spirit fusing root in and set the fire to low. The root's color shifted from earthy yellow to pale gold. I thought it was going well. Then it kept darkening, gold to brown to black. A burnt smell drifted out of the dragon's mouth on the lid. Charcoal. I fished it out with tweezers and set it on a dish. First try. Over before it started. Second attempt. Even lower fire this time. The root went pale gold again, held for 20 breaths, then darkened anyway. Brown, black, charcoal. Too little heat also burns it. Uncle Zhong's voice came through the door. He'd been listening, worried about an explosion. Your Highness, low heat isn't a fixed temperature. Every root is different. Moisture, age, origin. You have to feel your way. That clicked. On the third attempt, I stopped watching color and started sensing the root from the inside with my spirit sense. Like sticking a needle into it. I could feel the moisture evaporating, impurities shifting, and the medicinal properties contracting. Too much heat, and the medicine shrank away. Too little, and the moisture wouldn't leave. I adjusted in tiny increments. Up a fraction, down a fraction. Like turning an impossibly fine screw. One turn too many and it strips, one too few and it's loose. The root went pale gold and stayed there. 20 breaths. Still pale gold. I probed inside. Moisture gone, impurities out, medicinal properties intact. Step 1 done. Step 2. Add divine power grass, medium heat. The problem was that the grass needed high heat to melt, but the root couldn't handle high heat. Contradiction. My first solution was splitting the fire, high on one side for the grass, low on the other for the root. The grass melted beautifully, turning transparent with golden threads dissolving into liquid. But then the liquid boiled and the medicinal properties scattered. Ruined. I tried again. This time I took the root out first, melted the grass alone, then put the root back in. The root dropped the temperature and the liquid started solidifying. I added heat. The liquid melted again, root sitting inside it. Its color shifted from pale gold to deep gold. Don't turn brown, don't turn brown, don't turn brown. Deep gold. It stopped. Didn't go brown. Step 2 done. Step 3. Add spirit gathering flowers. High heat. Fuse everything. 5 pale blue petals, cool to the touch, like ice crystals. I dropped them in and cranked the fire to high. 3 ingredients. 3 streams of spirit scents, everything changing at once. The liquid boiled. The root rolled around changing color. The flowers melted too fast. I adjusted all 3 fires simultaneously, pressing one down, lifting another, pressing, lifting, like juggling. Everything merged into a deep blue liquid. The root's color shifted from deep gold back to pale gold. Its medicinal properties were being drawn out, absorbed by the other 2 ingredients. But then the liquid cracked down the middle like a broken piece of jelly. Left half, right half, empty space in the center. The root sat in the gap, turned gray-white. The 3 medicines had separated. Failed fusion. I dumped it and replayed every detail in my head. The root's properties had been extracted too fast. The extraction and fusion needed to happen at the same speed. Synchronized. 6th attempt. Steps 1 and 2 went smoothly now. I had them down. Step 3. I changed my approach. Instead of rushing the fusion, I let it happen slowly. The root's properties seeped out bit by bit. The grass's properties seeped in bit by bit. The flower acted as a bridge between them, connecting piece by piece. I followed the temperature instead of controlling it. Like dancing, I wasn't leading, I was following. When it rose, I pressed gently. When it dipped, I lifted gently. The liquid went from clear to pale blue to deep blue. The root shifted from deep gold to pale gold, same as before. But this time, it didn't turn gray-white. The pale gold held for 5 breaths, then disappeared. The root dissolved completely into the liquid. not an empty shell, fully absorbed. All 3 medicines became one. Step 4. Lowest possible heat. The liquid stopped churning and went still. Then it started changing, from liquid to gel to solid to a round little ball. A pill. It spun inside the furnace like a top for about 30 breaths. Then stopped. I opened the lid. A clean fragrance drifted out of the dragon's mouth, not burnt, but fresh, like spring grass and summer flowers. I lifted the pill out with tweezers. Thumb-sized, deep blue with pale gold web-like patterns covering its entire surface. I stared at it for 3 seconds. Then I smiled. Done. Through the door, Uncle Zhong asked, "Your Highness, it worked?" "It worked." A long silence. "Your Highness, the alchemist I used to serve took 3 years from receiving his first recipe to successfully refining his first pill." I didn't respond. I held the pill under my nose. Clean fragrance. Licked it. Sweet with a hint of bitterness. Blue-grade divine power pill. 1,000 divine power points per pill. Effective for levels 110 to 119. I stared at that deep blue pill on the dish for a long time. Uncle Zhong couldn't help himself and asked to come in and see. When he laid eyes on it, his pupils shrank. A real blue-grade divine power pill, made on my first day of alchemy. He told me the alchemist he'd served before took 3 years to refine his first pill, and that was only a purple-grade one. The guy was called a genius for it. I thought about why I'd succeeded. It wasn't luck. It was the spirit sense fire control technique. Without it, I couldn't have sensed inside the ingredients. Couldn't have split my spirit sense into 3 streams. Couldn't have managed 3 fires and 3 temperatures simultaneously. Nobody else in Holy Light Star's history had ever learned it, which is why nobody else could do what I just did. Uncle Zhong reminded me that the technique had sat in the treasury for millions of years. Countless people had tried to learn it. I was the first to succeed. Over the next 5 days, I refined all 94 remaining batches. 50 furnaces produced 1 pill each, 20 produced 2, 4 produced 3, and 20 blew up completely. 103 pills total. Combined with the 100 the Emperor had given me, that was 203. I fed 200 to my clones as I went, reaching level 112. When the herbs ran out, I needed more. But I didn't want to keep taking from the Imperial Treasury. It would draw attention. And I definitely didn't want anyone knowing my success rate. So I sent a clone to Starchan with 3 blue-grade pills to trade. Each pill was worth 10,000 purple-grade divine power pills on the market. 3 pills equaled 30,000, and 100 batches of herbs cost 29,000. A nice profit margin. The clone found a small, quiet herb shop on Medicine Street, a place called 100 Grass Hall with a half-asleep old man behind the counter. The old man's eyes nearly popped when he saw 3 blue-grade divine power pills. He asked where they came from. My clone said, "Bought them." The old man didn't believe it, but knew better than to press. 3 pills for 100 batches of herbs. The old man pointed out I was overpaying by 1,000 purple-grade pills. I told him to keep the difference as a tip. He was happy to oblige and asked me to come back next time. The herbs went into soul storage, and I was back in business. This became my cycle. Refine pills, level up, trade pills for herbs, refine more pills, level up more. My success rate kept improving with each round. 1 month later, I hit level 120. I remembered looting a level 120 equipment set from a corpse in the secret realm, so I pulled it out and equipped it. My stats had jumped 100-fold compared to level 110. Blood volume was now 736 billion multiplied by hundreds of trillions. Attack power was similarly enormous. But leveling up now required 10 million divine power per level, also a 100-fold increase. Blue-grade pills no longer worked at level 120. I needed green-grade divine power pills, and I didn't have the recipe. The excuse I'd used for jumping from 100 to 110 in 9 days was meeting the ancestor during cultivation. I couldn't use that again for going from 110 to 120 in 1 month. The best I could come up with was crediting the god-level technique. Since nobody else could cultivate it, nobody could disprove me. But it would still raise eyebrows, because even the ancestor himself hadn't leveled this fast with the same technique. I decided not to worry about it for now. If I wanted the green-grade pill recipe, I'd have to reveal my current level eventually. I'd deal with the questions when they came. No rush. I pushed open my door to get some fresh air, and Uncle Zhong came hurrying over. "Your Highness, the medicine field space is about to open." He told me to look up. The sky had cracked open. A massive fissure stretched from the eastern horizon to the western, like someone had slashed the heavens with an invisible knife. Golden light poured from the crack, turning everything amber. The light churned and flowed like a river running backwards across the sky. Something was forming in the center of the fissure. Fog, or maybe cloud. It grew bigger, denser, brighter, then burst open like a flower blooming. Thousands of golden threads shot outward in every direction, writhing across the sky like tentacles. Uncle Zhong explained. The medicine field space opened once every 100 years. Inside was nothing but herbs. Every grade, from the lowest to the highest. There were even herbs that could help people above level 190 cultivate faster. Things you couldn't buy anywhere else. My interest spiked. What are the rules for entry? Only people under 100 years old could enter. Each planet got 3 spots. Once inside, you had 3 days. When the time was up, the space closed and everyone got teleported out. Whatever herbs you picked, you kept. Then he added something that really caught my attention. There are rumors you can find ancient pill recipes inside. Maybe even god-level herbs. Ancient pill recipes. That was exactly what I needed. Especially a green-grade divine power pill recipe to keep leveling past 120. A guard came running. The Emperor wanted me at the discussion hall immediately. On the way, I asked Uncle Zhong who Holy Light Star usually sent. He said it was always royal-blooded talents. Not necessarily from the main line, but anyone with royal blood could apply. The ones who typically won the spots were around 90 years old and level 140. The hall was already packed when I arrived. All 12 elders, the family heads, every prince and princess. The Emperor sat at the head holding a golden scroll. He announced the medicine field space would open tomorrow. 3 spots per planet, under 100 years old. He'd already had a list prepared. 3 names from branch families. Sheng Lihua, at level 139 and 97 years old. Sheng Jiqi, at level 138 and 96. Sheng Jiao, at level 138 and 95. All experienced, high level, and strong. Sheng Tianwu protested immediately. Father, that's not fair. Why can they go, but we can't? The Emperor looked at him flatly. What level are you? 110. And what would you do in there? Die. Sheng Tianwu's face went red. He couldn't argue. The people in the hall whispered among themselves. None of the mainline princes or princesses were high enough level. Sheng Tianjiao was only level 100, and officially, I was level 112. Everyone figured we'd be useless in there. Even the lowest grade herbs had level 120 guardian beasts nearby. What they didn't know was that I was actually level 120 now. And what I wanted more than anything was inside that space. Green-grade pill recipes and rare herbs. Meanwhile, Sheng Tian stood at the front with his warm smile. But I could tell his mind was spinning. He was thinking about me. Inside the medicine field space, nobody outside could see what happened. If someone died in there, nobody would know how. His fingers slowly clenched inside his sleeves. The hall went quiet after the Emperor read out his 3 picks. Then I stepped forward. Father, I want to go. Everyone stared at me. Sheng Tianwu was first to react. Ninth brother, are you crazy? The weakest guardian beasts in there are level 120. You're level 112. What can you do? I ignored him and looked at the Emperor. I told him I'd heard the medicine field space might contain ancient alchemist legacies. I said I'd started alchemy a month ago and could already refine blue-grade divine power pills. The hall erupted. People couldn't believe it. A blue-grade alchemist in 1 month? Impossible. That normally took decades. I pulled out a small cloth bundle and opened it.